February 2024. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us right here at the Morning Drift. There's just a lot that we're going to look at this morning. The conversation this morning being about the retreat of government officials in Naivasha to review the performance so far. We're going to look at the scorecard of cabinet secretaries and members of parliament in the Kenya Kwanza government so far, a time when both the president and the deputy president are hitting on the former president, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, on his remarks of why they're always looking backwards as opposed to charting the way forward in running of government agenda. That is going to be a bigger conversation this morning. We do expect a panel to be joining us shortly so that we could begin that review in earnest right here on the Morning Drift. You can join us online at Lookuptv across all the social media platforms. I am at Kiaga Simba. Once we come back, we'll be looking at exactly what it is that you're waking up to on your day list. Let's jump into our daily Zen this morning. We start with the Daily Nation that is talking about death traps in schools. A story about how families of children died in schools under unclear circumstances that are now demanding answers for the tragedies. More alarming is the congestion in learning institutions. One primary school in Wiki has 5,000 pupils crammed in an area the size of a football pitch that some teachers warn is a disaster waiting to happen. That story here on page 6, 7 and 8. On that story, for RUTO wanting total loyalty from Kenya Kwanza members of parliament, President RUTO has reprimanded Kenya Kwanza legislators who are opposing government policies, including levies to fund housing and healthcare projects, as Parliament considered the Affordable Housing Bill 2023 that the government is banking on to continue collecting a controversial levy. The President insisted members of Parliament from governing coalition must ensure passage of the proposed law. That story has been covered on page 5 of the Daily Nation. And we're going to read a story here on how Kenya wants families of teachers killed by bandits compensated. Story on page 14. Public debt surges past 11 trillion. Kenya's public debt shot up by 1.9 trillion in the year ended December 2023, increasing the total loans to 11.14 trillion Kenyan shillings. Kenya Power also builds Kenyans an extra 70 billion. That story has been covered on page 10. And why I want doctors to end my life story has been covered on Healthy Nation. Pull out right here on the Daily Nation. That's essentially what you're waking up to on the Daily Nation this morning. Less than jump and take a look at what you're waking up to on the Standard this morning. There's a story here on Raila AU job bid split azimio principles. We're going to read that story on page 6 of the Standard. And members of parliament to adopt dialogue report. That story has been covered on page 8 and Ernest here this morning. And there's a story here on how RUTO rails at his party members of parliament over performance. That story has been covered on page 5. Rest again, it's time to finish Kiptum House. Story covered on page 3. And taxes. KRA trains gun on diaspora. Pages 2 and 8. And there's a story here on how Tuskers leaves team with hangover. That story essentially has been covered on page 38 of the Standard this morning. So quickly, just before we step out of a newspaper review, there's a story here on the Business Daily this morning on how regulator inflated power prices by 70 billion in 5 years. Same story that has been covered right here on the Daily Nation. And all markets yesterday were looking green, all the way from NSE 20 share index, all NSE all share index, all the way to NSE 25 share index that was essentially pointing north. As you're waking up to this morning, majority of these stories have been covered on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke. We take a tiny breather once we come back straight to our newsroom. Welcome back. President William Ruto has slammed lawmakers that he says are not in touch with the electorate and the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Speaking during a retreat with Kenya Kwanza members of parliament, the head of state accused the lawmakers of derailing government bills by missing house sittings and opposing some of the bills. President Ruto calls on the lawmakers to expedite passage of the affordable housing bill. Let's take a look.
Speaking in Naivasha resort in a meeting that had brought together members of the cabinet and legislatures, President William Ruto has urged them to take stock on the government's performance and progress. The head of state has put on notice Kenya Kwanza legislators for failing to support the government's initiative.
We all went to the elections. We campaigned on the same podium. You heard me talk about housing. You heard me talk about universal health coverage. When it comes to implementation, sasa watu wanaanza sijui sasa unajua hii kitu imekaa sijui namna gani. Sasa mlikuwa mnafikiri hii kitu itafanyika namna gani? This is how it's going to happen. You know, when the rubber meets the road, don't start kusema ilikuwa ikaenda ikarudi. Hapana. We stay the course.
While listing the progress that the government had done, the president blamed the parliamentarians for not doing enough to link Kenyans with foreign job opportunities.
I have talked about this thing in every meeting. Continuously. Sasa wewe wakati unaketi kwa hiyo mkutano hivi, unasikia president huyu anasema iko nurses. Wewe ujiulize kwa kichwa hii nurses, ukitoka hapo kwa hiyo mkutano, si unaenda kutafuta mahali hiyo iko nurses, hawa nurses iko. Friends, because I still see people here saying we are not aware. You are not aware. Sasa mnataka nifanye nini? Mnataka nisimame wapi? Nisimame niweke volume kiasi gani? As we are talking today, listen members of leaders, as we are talking today, Bora is here. Where is Madime? Or that other gentleman? Yes, that Madime is there, the PS concerned. We still need 2,000 nurses.
President Ruto still maintains the affordable housing project must be implemented, calling on the Kenya Kwanza MPs to debate and pass the bill that is in the August House.
You know, and even those who are opposed to the housing program, it is not because they don't know that it is the right thing. Their problem is that it is us who are implementing, not them. It is just as simple as that. That is their quarrel. In fact, when I had one of our friends say yesterday, when, I don't know the day yesterday or the day before, that when he sees things, he feels like crying. It is true. Because they are now wondering, it was actually true that housing was possible, and we wasted time on reggae. You know? They feel like crying because they can actually see this housing was actually possible. So that's what it is. Many people thought it was not possible. They can now see that it is possible.
The president, however, acknowledged the efforts being taken by members of his team in the realization of the government's agenda.
We will need to collectively, you know, and I like what Ishuma said, there is no other government in parliament. It is our members of parliament. You are the government. So don't stop pointing at some government. There is no other government. So members, I am talking to many people here. Mutapita mutiani if you do what I am telling you. Yeah? You will, we are setting up the exam for 2027. So, mujipange.
Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
So, President Ruto telling members of parliament about that this is their government. that he talks about these things. It's just that they do not implement them. He's even saying that they're still in search for 2,000 nurses. We'll talk about that this morning. William Ruto has told off former President Uhuru Kenyatta for expressing frustration over some government decisions, speaking during the opening of a joint national executive and a Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group consultative meeting in Naivasha. The head of state said that the former President Kenyatta used his time to champion for BBI or reggae instead of affordable housing project. Let's take a look.
President William Ruto didn't spare to reiterate on the former president's criticizing remarks on his government. Uhuru Kenyatta idiomatically comparing Kenya Kwanza leadership to a driver who keeps on looking at the rear mirror, which he argues this can drive the country into a ditch.
Kama wewe ndio umepatiwa steering wheel ya kuendesha, kama ni county ya Nyandarua, kama ni constituency hii, kama ni nchi ya Kenya, pale popote, kama wewe ni kiongozi wa maana. Kiongozi wa maana anashika steering wheel, anaangalia mbele. Sio kila saa kuangalia rear view ati ametoka wapi. Unaangalia mbele. Ukiwa mtu wa kuendesha ukiangalia rear view mirror, wewe ni mtu wa kupeleka gari katika
However, the president wouldn't hesitate to give a response as he blew his own trumpet on the current government projects, saying they are indispensable, contrary to the previous regimes.
In fact, when I had one of our friends say yesterday, when, I don't know the day yesterday or the day before, that when he sees things, he feels like crying. It is true. Because they are now wondering, it was actually true that housing was possible, and we wasted time on reggae. You know, they feel like crying because they can actually see this housing was actually possible. Even those who are opposed to the housing program, it is not because they don't know that it is the right thing. Their problem is that it is us who are implementing, not them.
On his side, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua didn't temporize to defend his boss' leadership, where he continued to censure the retired president, saying that it is important to retrace to avoid occurrence of the same mistakes that almost led the country into a state of liquidity.
I had somebody saying that you should not look at the rear mirror. I want to encourage you to continue looking at the rear mirror, because the inventor of the motor vehicle was not mad by putting the rear mirror. In your leadership, Your Excellency, you have made it very clear that no Kenyan should be left behind. So you must continue looking at the rear mirror to make sure that all Kenyans are on board and they are not left behind.
Nevertheless, Uhuru Kenyatta was advising the current leaders to let go of the past and focus on critical issues affecting Kenyans at the moment, where he spoke at a burial of the wife to the former Cabinet Secretary Amos Kimunya in Nyandarua County. Ruga Iwal, Lookuptv.
Now, leaders of majority in the National Assembly and the Senate have called on Cabinet Secretaries to make use of the opportunity to appear before both houses. The duo Kimani Ichung'wah and Aaron Cheriot called on the CSs to ensure they use the opportunity to expound on government agenda and projects being implemented under their dockets.
After legislators in March of 2023 amended Standing Order 25A to allow a cabinet secretary to expound on government policy and answer to questions regarding their dockets, a section of cabinet secretaries have taken initiative, with others yet to appear before either houses. Today, during the government retreat in Naivasha, Nakuru County, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has called on CSS to make good use of the opportunity to appear before the House to expound on the happenings in their dockets, taking the opportunity in what looked like a dig aimed at ICT CS Eliud Owalo to urge CSs who have been skipping such sessions to honor summons.
Our cabinet secretaries, every time you find an opportunity to come and answer to a question or to a statement requested by a member of parliament, please take that time as also an opportunity to espouse on government policy. And maybe, for instance, I don't know, CS Eliud Owalo has not been there, for instance. if you get an opportunity to answer to a question, take that opportunity to also challenge us as members of parliament to also be a bit quick in pushing through government agenda, especially something like the ICT hubs.
Ishungwa further emphasized on the importance of the sessions, as it was not only a conversation with legislators, but also an opportunity to appraise Kenya's own government projects being implemented in their respective dockets.
And by speaking to members of parliament from the floor of the House, you will also have an opportunity to speak to the country at a prime time when many Kenyans are watching. And I'm happy Cabinet Secretaries like the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen has done very well in taking advantage of even very difficult questions.
With the President William Ruto calling on MPs to pass the affordable housing bill, the majority leaders from both houses promised to ensure the bill is passed in the next few days.
Your Excellency, we also have the national government administration laws that are also bound to come to the Assembly this session. Also the NADCO report, our affordable housing bill, which, Your Excellency, I'm happy to report we began debate last week on Thursday, so that we're able to conclude with that debate and be able to process the bill forward to the Senate so that they're able to advertise it by Friday, do their public participation, and we get a new affordable housing bill before the next payroll.
We are anxiously awaiting the housing bill, which the Honorable Lichungwa has spoken about. Once our colleagues in the Assembly conclude on it, we will definitely consider it.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Kirinyaga County are pleading with the county boss, Anne Waiguru, to allow them open up the businesses as usual as the county kicks off the vetting and verification procedures for fresh licensing, saying that they have incurred heavy losses since the closure directive was given by the governor.
We deregister all of them and start the process of vetting afresh. Ndio hii maneno iskaendelee.
Following Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru's order for immediate closure of all bars in the county in the wake of recent incidents has seen loss of lives, bar owners are honestly calling on the county boss to allow them to open up their business as usual, saying that they are willing to comply with all directives the governor has issued to help them fight the illicit liquor menace in the county.
Sisi hatuna vita na county government ya Kirinyaga, na yenye tunaomba ni sisi tufunguliwe kazi. Hakuna mahali tunaunga mkono wenye wanapika pombe mbaya. Mambo ya pombe mbaya tulikataa. Na sisi kama association ya Kirinyaga Bar Owners Association tulisema hatutaki pombe mbaya. Na kama kunayo pombe mbaya iko na watu wanapika, sisi tutamuunga mkono kupigana na hiyo. Hatuitaki na tutaki hiyo pombe mbaya.
The bar operators further said that they should not be punished for the errors of few rogue operators who do not want to adhere to the law, and they will play a key role in ensuring the traders sell only the good liquor.
We are saddened with the circumstances leading to these deaths, and hereby we wish to extend our solemn condolences to bereaved families and those who are already maimed by consumption of this illicit bill. We as an association of bar owners would like to disassociate ourselves with these criminal activities and condemn the perpetrators of this bill in the strongest term possible.
Tuko tayari kufuata nini? Sheria zote ziko.
General economy has come to a standstill since the directives was issued, and they are incurring huge losses, further calling for the honest commencement of the vetting process to save them from recording more losses.
We are ready to pay the licenses ya mwaka wa 2024. Hivyo tunamuomba kama kuna verification anataka kufanya katika filamu yetu, badala ya kutufungia, atufungulie, watu yake wakunje wakiendelea wakiangalia, mtu akikumbaliwa aendeshe biashara yake. Hiyo ndio tu ombi yenye tuko nayo. Wengi sana wanaumia. Na sio tu watu wa pombe wanaumia. Kwa saa hii ukienda hata kwa zile biashara zingine watu wameumia. Watu wa biashara ya nyama haikuliwi, watu wamefunga kwa njia jana.
MCS prepare to pass new laws that will help in streamlining the sale, consumption and production of alcoholic drinks in the county.
Once the 10 counties approve the bill, I can assure and guarantee the residents and actually Mount Kenya region there will be a common bill in alcoholic consumption and usage and bars approval.
George Kayesi, Lookuptv.
Amid its efforts to eradicate the scourge of insecurity, Samburu North Governor Lati Lelelet has inaugurated a fortified camp to help the residents, citing the continuous violence from bandits that disrupts learning to neighboring Morijo schools, and calls on the Interior Cabinet Secretary to intervene in the security issue in the area. Let's take a look.
In a bid to address the escalating insecurity caused by bandits' attacks in the Lorian village of Angata na Nyoike ward, the Samburu County government has taken decisive action. Governor Lati Lelelit, accompanied by key officials, inaugurated a fortified regents camp aimed at bolstering security and safeguarding residents from imminent danger. During his visit at a local school renowned for its exemplary performance, Governor Lelelit expressed dismay at the prevailing insecurity and urged Interior CS Kithure Kindiki to intervene promptly.
Morijo ambaye inaangaliana kila siku inapigwa risasi iko na watoto 700, almost 800, 700 and something. Na watoto wametoka kila mahali Kenya. Mimi nataka kualika Waziri Kindiki tutembee na hiyo shule ndio tuweze kuweka hata askari karibu na hiyo shule. Kambi moja ya askari Morijo Secondary School.
Located on the outskirts of Morijo town, where the echoes of bandits' gunshots reverberate with alarming frequency, the camp stands as a beacon of hope for locals, beleaguered by fear and uncertainty.
Keeping these students here, and the security situation is deteriorating every day. If we are assured of security, then we'll be very grateful. We thank the county government. They've given us NPR to protect the students. But honestly, it is traumatizing. As it is currently, even getting supplies from Marral to this place, it's a nightmare. Because people bringing supplies keep on fearing because of the attacks that take place even at the roads in this area. Anybody mentioning Morijo, they talk of bandits. We want the narrative to change.
Recognizing the profound impact of continuous gun violence on students' psyche, the governor implored for tangible measures to restore a sense of safety and normalcy. Martin Masharia, Lookuptv.
Teen moms in Bungoma County have a reason to smile after an offer to continue with education to hone their skills was presented to them. Kakeha, a student of Chwele Technical College, a mother of twins who was disowned by her parents after becoming pregnant, talks about the benefits of getting trained in that college.
Meet Esther Kakera, a young mother of twins, delighted after gaining notable skills while learning at the Chwele Vocational Training Center. She has been studying while her children are taken care of in the same institution. Esther says that after getting pregnant, she was kicked out by her parents and life became unbearable.
Tulivurugana na wazazi wakanitoa kwa boma. Nilikuwa naishi kwa aunt. Sijakuwa hivyo rahisi. Kukuja kwangu hapa haikuwa rahisi, but at least saa hii naweza sema ni rahisi. Juu saa hii najua kushona. Hata kama bado sijapata machine, nimekuwa nikikaa kwa mtu nikimsaidia kushona na ananilipa. But saa hivi vile nimepata yangu, at least inakuwa rahisi.
After joining Chwele Technical College, however, Esther explained that she has gained skills and getting the sewing machine will enable her to cater for her needs and that of her children.
At least saa hii naweza jikeep, naweza saidia watoto wangu. At least saa hii naweza fanya kitu juu mimi naishi rentals. Saa hii naweza jilipia rent, saa hii sitegemei mtu sababu ya hii training nimejifunza.
Peter Simiyu, who is the chairman of the Najijali project, which has now sponsored 50 teen mothers, says that the program focuses on helping the needy children and those that have been abandoned.
Tunashirikiana kwa kufunza watoto ambao wamepata mimba za mapema. Tunawafunza katika tailoring and garment making. Kwa hivyo tulishirikiana na county government kupitia kwa Chwele VTC kuweza kusomesha hawa wasichana ili waweze kujitegemea katika maisha.
However, Godfrey Wamalwa has asked the community to be responsible in raising their children and to stop violence against children.
People are taking that advantage. Wanasema tu msichana akipata mimba, siku na rota liko pale tasaidia, nitatupatia hizo vitu. Ni ukweli? Hapana, we are not after that. Tuko hapa tuweze kusaidiana.
Since its establishment in 2022, Chwele Vocational Principal notes that the exercise has been a success thanks to partnerships with different organizations to get resources and funding.
That project with them in the year 2022. I've gone through so many thorough trainings with these people. They can really harass you, but for a good cause. That is what I've gone through to be where I am.
Maureen Bosire, Lookuptv.
The government has said there is a need to explore new frontiers to diversify export-based investments in areas like sustainable agriculture and cleaner energy. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said that Kenya presents a conducive business environment that has a strong democracy and business-friendly policies which are advantageous for potential investors. Let's take a look.
Speaking when he represented President William Ruto during the second Canada-Africa Business Forum held in Nairobi on Monday, Prime CS said Kenya's strategic location makes it a natural getaway to three strategic economic blocks, namely the East African Community, common markets for Eastern and Southern Africa, and the African Continental Free Trade Area. Mudavadi added that the country is ripe for business, calling on investors to invest in Kenya.
A significant milestone as we gather to strengthen the ties between our nations and explore new avenues strengthening our collaboration. Your presence here underscores the value of deepening partnership between Kenya and Canada, and I am confident that our discussions will be mutually beneficial. Allow me to reflect briefly on our last engagement in October 2023, where we connected virtually amidst challenging times. Despite the barriers, it was evident that our commitment to fostering partnerships between Canada and Africa remains solid and unwavering.
Mudavadi also indicated it is important that Kenya builds a good relationship, thus bringing cooperation with Canada.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya presents a conducive business environment, having a strong democracy and business-friendly policies which are advantageous for potential investors.
Cabinet Secretary for Investments, Trade and Industry of Kenya, Rebecca Miano, who was also in attendance, said that the government has taken measures to strengthen investment between Kenya and Canada.
It is very gratifying to witness steady progress in efforts geared towards expanding investment and commercial opportunities between Canada and Kenya, and we do extend a very, very warm welcome to the delegation that has arrived from Canada.
Lona Lorraine Ombuya, Lookuptv.
This morning we look at that particular retreat that is currently ongoing in Naivasha. The president has been speaking, the deputy president has been speaking, and a couple of cabinet secretaries and members of parliament allied to the Kenya Kwanza side have been speaking. What is the scorecard of the government so far at a time when the president is worried that indeed some members of the Kenya Kwanza side, in terms of members of parliament, also are opposing the government agenda? Which way forward, and what do you give them? Out of 10, we're going to be coming back from this tiny breather right here on the Morning Brief. Come back and talk about that particular topic this morning. Good morning.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Tere, mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we mse. Mbaya. Wewe kwani wani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya, lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time, hata angalia barabara. Mamiseni dereva tusimame. Wewe dereva wewe, mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa tuende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Superior Homes, because they're a company that represents winning in an area where majority of people have questions, the real estate sector.
The last 3 years have been a lot of growth in the business, personally as well, a lot of learning, and also just positioning the business in a way that will see continued growth in a sustainable manner for the next, decade, 20 years. And to me, that's been what I would say, if I had to summarize, is the hallmark of the last 3 years.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka, hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia, ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv every Sunday. Unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa uchambuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni Ukulima ni Mali.
Lookuptv welcomes you to attend the first career fair themed The Place of Education and Technical Skills in a Digitally Disruptive Era. The event will be streamed live on our TV and digital platforms. There will be a battery of professional speakers from diverse career disciplines. Join us for an opportunity to sharpen your career choices and make informed decisions for the future at the University of Nairobi Towers on the 22nd of February as from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Don't miss out.
And Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kia Gesimba. There's just a lot to talk about this morning. The government, and I say the government, that's the Kenya Kwanza side, was in Naivasha, still there. And what they're doing is that they're looking at government agenda for the very first time this year, because we do know National House business has already kicked off. And indeed, on the 5th day, when these guys are essentially coming back, NATCO report are shown. And I said, members of parliament are going to adopt NATCO report proposals. That a conversation for another day. But this morning, what we're going to look at is essentially a man called Dr. President William Ruto, who yesterday spoke about how he is concerned of two things. Number one, about how some members of parliament are not loyal to his government agenda. Number two, about how some of them are essentially got no idea about how to support government agenda. And we start like this then. Let's look at that particular story that we ran yesterday. And that's not it, because once we come back, we are going to show you his rant about how he's concerned about how some members of parliament are not essentially supporting his agenda. Once we do that story, we come back and introduce the guests who are joining us this morning so that we officially then begin our scorecard for the Kenya Kwanza government. Good morning. Let's take a look.
Speaking in Lake Naivasha resort in a meeting that had brought together members of the cabinet and legislators, President William Ruto has urged them to take stock on the government's performance and progress. The head of state has put on notice Kenya Kwanza legislators for failing to support the government's initiative.
We all went to the elections. We campaigned on the same podium. You heard me talk about housing. You heard me talk about universal health coverage. When it comes to implementation, sasa watu wanaanza sijui sasa unajua hii kitu imekaa sijui namna gani. Sasa mlikuwa mnafikiri hii kitu itafanyika namna gani? This is how it's going to happen. You know, when the rubber meets the road, don't start kusema ilikuwa ikaenda ikarudi. Hapana. We stay the course.
While listing the progress that the government had done, the president blamed the parliamentarians for not doing enough to link Kenyans with foreign job opportunities.
I have talked about this thing in every meeting, continuously. Sasa wewe wakati unageti kwa hiyo mkutano hivi, unasikia president huyu anasema iko nurses. Wewe ujiulize kwa kichwa hii nurses, ukitoka hapo kwa hiyo mkutano, si unaenda kutafuta mahali hiyo iko nurses, hawa nurses iko. Friends, because I still see people here saying we are not aware. You are not aware. Sasa mnataka nifanye nini? Mnataka nisimame wapi? Nisimame niweke volume kiasi gani? As we are talking today, listen, members of leaders, as we are talking today, Bora is here. Where is Madime? Or that other gentleman? Yes, that Madime is there, the PS concerned. We still need 2,000 nurses.
President Ruto still maintains the affordable housing project must be implemented, calling on the Kenya Kwanza MPs to debate and pass the bill that is in the August House.
You know, and even those who are opposed to the housing program, it is not because they don't know that it is the right thing. Their problem is that it is us who are implementing, not them. It is just as simple as that. That is their quarrel. In fact, when I had one of our friends say yesterday, when, I don't know the day yesterday or the day before, that when he sees things, he feels like crying. It is true. Because they are now wondering, it was actually true that housing was possible, and we wasted time on reggae. You know, they feel like crying because they can actually see this housing was actually possible. So that's what it is. Many people thought it was not possible. They can now see that it is possible.
The president, however, acknowledged the efforts being taken by members of his team in the realization of the government's agenda.
We will need to collectively, you know, and I like what Ishunga said, there is no other government in parliament. It is our members of parliament. You are the government. So don't stop pointing at some government. There is no other government. So members, I am talking to many people here. Mutapita mutiani if you do what I'm telling you. Yeah? You will, we are setting up the exam for 2027. So, mujipange.
Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
So much that we're going to take from that particular clip this morning. So much, so many notes that we're going to take a look at. In fact, in that particular clip, there's even sentiments that have been alluded to President Uhuru Kenyatta about what he said about a government that is always looking backwards. All right, this morning, just like we do it every day right here on Tuesday, we do have Edward, we do have Prof, and we do have Fanyamamo in the building. But now, gentlemen, it doesn't end there. So the morning team essentially then said, I mean, there must have been so much that was said by the president before that is what we took on air. So we came up with this particular one that essentially presented the perfect rant of the president when it came to just his members of parliament and his CSs just not being in tune with what the government agenda really is. Let's take a look. So once we come back then, we'll have a full board of notes to speak from this morning. Let's take a look again.
Na saa ile mimi naongea mnafikiri mimi naongea hewa. You know, kuna maneno tunaongeanga hewa. I am not talking hewa. I am talking to you reality. So please, any serious leader will listen to what I am saying and do something about it. Tunaelewana? Because the only thing I find when I come to counties, watu wananiambia kuna mwanasiasa fulani alianguka kura, tafutia kazi. Kuna mwingine hapo alianguka kura, tafutia kazi. Na hawa wengine wote amusemi. Na opportunity ndio hii if we were to get 2,000 people, tukigawana hapa 2,000 people, si kila mtu atakuwa na watu ine ama mbili. So, no? So, sasa, munataka tugawane hapa. Sasa niwaulize, nani alikatazwa kupeleka 20 ama 30? Ati hamjaambiwa? Mnataka kuambiwa na nani? Kwani amusomi gazeti? Na saa ile mimi naongea, mnafikiri mimi naongea hewa? What are you? Saa ile mimi naongea, nyinyi mnasikianga? Do you understand English or I mean, friends, wewe waluke. Si mimi nilikuwa Bungoma. Ulisikia mimi nikisema hukusikia. Sasa ulikuwa unafikiri wewe Mauritania, you heard me, I was in your constituency. Nilisema ama sikusema? So, I mean, surely, friends, you know, tuache hii maneno ya, you know, we like looking for excuses. Yes, wamaua. Si mimi nilikuwa Maragwa, my dear. Hiyo maneno yote nimesema basi nilisema. In public, ukiwa hapo. Sasa, please. I have been everywhere I have gone, I have not hidden.
At this point, I'd like to say thank you very much to Dennis Amadeno for helping us put that run together this morning. Thank you very much. Prof, the notes are there then. Yeah. It is looking at how the government has scored. But the president is a disappointed man. He's not happy with majority of his members of parliament and even the CSS. He's even saying, well, we still need 2,000 nurses. You guys are not giving me the nurses. Where are they?
Yes.
What are your talking points from the president's address yesterday?
I think that if anything that president says is anything to go by, I see a realization from Kenya Kwanza that there have been things that they would have done that they have not done.
Yes.
I like when people feel disappointed. You know, every time we chest thump and says we are doing well, everything is great, yet people are not seeing it, I feel disappointed if the opposite is true. And I think the president is actually telling his people, you have failed me. I've done my part. I articulated these things. We campaigned together. You knew what I wanted. You are with me there. Is what I said the reason why you are elected. Now it cannot be the opposite, whereby you people are now trying to start doubting what I was saying. And he says that you are thinking I was saying hewa, meaning that according to him, these people are thinking he was just having a campaign propaganda on the issues of housing, on the issue of healthcare, on the issue of the nurses. But these guys are just saying, he's very smart, he's winning the election with this propaganda. He's telling them, by the way, it's going to happen. And I can tell you it's possible, and you can see it. It means that the president is still insisting that his campaign pledges are implementable. But what he's saying is that there is no one in his team who is with him. But in the one extent, I can say something that first, you can realize that the president has to know that the members of parliament help him pass the house levy in parliament.
Yes.
So I think that it's not totally correct that they didn't believe him. They have been with him through it. But what he's saying is that it's like what Jesus said to his disciples, that your heart is far from me, but your mouth is near me. So he's like, he talks to these people, but doesn't say these were really convinced that his vision for the country is implementable. So maybe this is the time we can ask, should the president continue with the team that does not believe in his vision, or this is the time to come back again and say, if you are not believing in me, should you not leave? Because I remember there is whereby Jesus said he said in public, that whoever does not drink my blood and eat my flesh will not see the kingdom. Then people left Jesus. They were so disappointed that who is this telling us to drink his blood and eat his flesh? Then when Jesus looked around, looked back, and saw his disciples, asked them, even you want to go away? In fact, it is like opposition has been telling Ruto, you are failing. Then Kenyans are believing the president is failing. Now he looked back to his disciples and asked them, do you also want to leave me alone? It's like, do you still believe in my vision? And I think this is a very critical thing. And I can tell you that everything in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 16 says, nothing is new under the sun. The president's speech is like Jesus' speech by saying, do you believe in me? Do you believe in the kingdom of God? Do you believe I must die and rise so that you can be saved? Or also you want to run away? So I think this is a time when even the members of Kenya Kwanza have to soul search. Because fortunately, opposition is not going to run on the president like it has been doing before. Remember, they must look like they have to work with the president to make this Raila candidature to AU actually succeed. There is no way Sifuna will be bashing Ruto and Kalonzo bashing Ruto
Yet Raila wants this thing, and Azimio has endorsed Ruto's decision to support Raila. So it's going to be an interesting moment whereby it is even possible that some members of the Azimio, if they so believe in Ruto's manifesto, can actually join him. If the people you are with cannot believe in you, why don't you look outside and get people who can work for you? I'm seeing there are some interesting things. What the president is saying there are so many things he's saying that does not really come out clearly. Because remember, the president is very good with his language and the audience. So I can foresee a time when everyone has to check. For example, Bore, you are there. You are easily mentioning names. He said there were 2,000 here.
Yeah, he's calling them out.
Yes.
He's even telling them, but you were there when I was speaking about this. So why have you not done it?
Yes.
I'm even asking them, guys, I don't. But just before I cross over to Githega this morning, because we're going to come and talk about the exact notes then on exactly what I was complaining about. He's complaining about nurses, he's complaining about how youth unemployment is essentially, it doesn't understand it. When he asked them, do you really understand English when I talk to people? Well, what do you read from him, that particular statement?
I think the president, of course, he does not mean English or not, but the president just asked these people whether their heart are with him. You know, the issue here, because I don't think he doubts whether these people understand. Also, the question of
some people read it as an abuse when somebody tells you, "Do you understand English?" It's like, is it a direct translation to, "Are you foolish, guys?"
The president is saying that what I'm saying is so basic that I don't expect that you have a problem. Remember, let's go back a little bit. The president, during the town hall meetings, sent economists. Even some of my friends were with me in Strathmore, who are going to every town hall, collecting leaders to educate them about the plan, the bottom-up economic model. They were being educated about this thing. There was also, because remember, in the beginning there were people who are not understanding it. They could go on television and say some things that bottom up means bottom from the bottom. And you could see those kind of gambling.
That's it.
But he took people who are economists, who went to explain to all the leaders. So the president is simply saying, understand that you understand what you should do. The only thing remains is that you have to have the goodwill now to do it. But English was just a way of saying this is very basic as a primary English level kind of course.
That's it.
Yes.
Githega.
How are you?
Fantastic, man. Happy to see you.
Happy to see you too.
Let's start from there.
Yes.
Does the president cut a disappointed figure in Naivasha when he's talking to his members of parliament and the guys in the Kenya Kwanza government about how he doesn't understand why it's getting difficult for him to implement some of his agenda? Does he cut a disappointed figure?
50-50. Of course, yesterday's meeting, which is also ongoing today, it's a retreat, a 4-day retreat of the parliamentarians in the cabinet. And indeed, if perhaps you're just being selective in the part of William Ruto that you're choosing. But I remember when he first started, he mentioned that he's happy with his team. He said his team performed. Yani, without his team, he would not have achieved what they have been able to achieve as Kenya Kwanza. That's the entire team, including the cabinet and the MPs. But however, on this specific point that he labored upon was the issue on the nurses. He was disappointed because he's traversed the country, and in every public opportunity he's had, he has highlighted the issue of labor export for the nurses. And you remember him asking the cabinet secretary for labor, how many people do you have so far? The total number of nurses that are needed are 2,500. However, as at yesterday, only 500 people had applied. So he was simply telling them, wake up, smell the coffee. You know, you keep coming back to me in the back room complaining we have not received this. Even I'm sure you are complaining. I'm sure the president raised that matter because the complaint came from the MPs that they are not receiving these jobs. You understand? Like they're not getting the opportunities to nominate or to bring forward people. So the president was very firm to whip them because it is a parliamentary group, and a parliamentary group is meant to whip your members towards your agenda. So he actually achieved because the MPs now are conscious and focused on the agenda of the president.
Majority.
And I'm sure if today the same question was asked by to the cabinet secretary on labor, I'm sure the numbers would have increased from 500 to probably past 1,000, because now the MPs are aligned to what the president is doing. So I don't see that being negative.
Are you concerned?
It's a father who's the head of the house, and he was putting his people straight in a very good way and in a very light way. Because by him saying Kwani amwele kizungu, it's not an insult. It's like a parable. Guys, take what I say seriously. I'm not just talking hewa. You know, he even mentioned about hewa when he talked about the nurses. He's not hewa. It's a fact. It's reality. Remember, he said, I want to talk to you about reality.
Are you concerned that some majority of him, when he was asking this question, are you not aware? They told him that we are not aware.
You know, in psychology, there is something called de-individuation. Okay?
Yes.
De-individuation, if I may just quickly highlight what it is, when you go for a football match, you see how supporters go crazy. You know, all of a sudden you are a calm guy, but after scoring, the goal has been scored, you act like a mad person. So I believe what happened yesterday was the individuation. You know, responding because others responded that way. You understand?
But you're responding as a government official who's saying, well, we are not aware of this particular one. Have you not been told? No.
That's why the president questioned and said, how can you say you're not aware? And even Moyudhania, some MPs were mentioned. I've come to your area, I've talked about this. How can you then say you're not aware?
That these issues have been written in newspapers every time when it comes to
advertised in newspapers. So I think don't carry that as something heavy. It's a fact. For those who know psychology, there's something called de-individuation, where individuals lose their individual personality and follow the crowd. So it was probably one of the hasty things where they spoke as a crowd, but if they were asked individually, they would answer that they do know.
That's it. Guess what, Prof? For the sake of this conversation again, our production essentially went back to President Uhuru Kenyatta's meeting at Safari Park, the government's breakfast. And that was sort of like a copy and paste of when the president, if you do remember, called out names of government officials who were seated in that particular breakfast and told them, guys, but I've told you this is how we want to do. So what do you want me to do? We sort of saw it as a copy and paste because we can run away from the fact that he's not disappointed. But when you look at this notes of him saying, well, but I was in your constituency, I said these things, why are you saying that you haven't essentially been told about it?
Just very fast, a quick point on that. If you heard what Ishongwa said, Ishongwa is the head of government business, majority, right? And even just last week, when they were having the readings for the housing bill, the MPs were not there. So actually, I support the president 100% for whipping those MPs, and they better take the president's agenda seriously and act upon it, or else in 2027 we shall revisit them.
Pretty much.
And also a campaign for young leaders, intelligent leaders to join. Because the president doesn't need idlers.
Prof, get ready on this, because I told you that so many notes that we're taking from here. That when you're implementing government agenda, how do you start to implement it and also follow it to make sure that it actually gets successful? Fayamambo, good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you.
Oof, but maybe you can start with us.
Yes.
When Fayamambo, if I come and tell you, Buana, I've told you these things. Don't you understand English? Is it English that you do not understand? What do you mean? Like, if I use those words, you talk to me as a Kenyan.
I think the president was accurate because the bulk of the people there are, you know, UDA has got very many MPs from Mount Kenya. And we have some Mount Kenya MPs who can't pronounce the word bursary. They have proven it in parliament. They can't pronounce the word bursary. And unfortunately, there was a conversation about housing in parliament. And Bensuda, oh God, I love the people of Nyanza. They voted for the best. They queued, they looked for the best. They voted the most eloquent, the most intelligent, the most able, the most capable. If this was an azimio meeting, they would not have been asked whether they understand English. Actually, they would have been responding in very good English. In fact, the words they would have been using would have shocked the president. Now you can imagine Bensouda prosecuting the things she was prosecuting about housing in parliament, talking of strategy, implementation, matrix, and sustainability. And then you have some Mount Kenya MPs in that bunga that I don't want to mention, because if they can't mention the word bursary, how will they start mentioning sustainability and tomorrow and words like project management and so on and so forth? So yes, the president could have come and said there's labor export in those other countries, yes. But whom did we vote for as Mount Kenya? There are specific constituencies, if I mention to you their MPs, and their ability to even comprehend basic English, it's a problem. So yes, the president was right. Mount Kenya gave him people who were not fit to, some of them, not all, some of them were not even fit to be in charge of a dam or a primary school board, but they became members of parliament, and they go to parliament and they hardly speak and they hardly say anything. Yes, you're right, Your Excellency, they don't understand English. Yes, next time Mount Kenya people go back to the ballot and vote people who understand English. Otherwise you'll have a president who has problems talking to these MPs. He spoke about houses and how there was a problem with, he spoke of somebody somewhere who had gone somewhere and said some funny things about housing. But what I like is the fact that out of the houses that so far have been launched by this government, none of them started from scratch by this government and finished by this government. So you are lecturing someone who has built the bulk of the houses that you are launching about him being incapable of building houses and not being able to build houses. You are lecturing him and telling him he doesn't like the housing agenda, he's unable to do houses, and you're busy launching the houses he's built. It's an interesting one. You're telling people to apply for jobs. The CS for Interior declared Nya House a crime scene. The CS for Interior, he declared Nya House a crime scene. You pay 4,500 for a passport, and then you bribe 15,000 shillings to get the passport. So the bribe is higher than the passport, and then you're telling people they'll get jobs abroad. Fix the passport mess first at Nya House. Under Uhuru, we applied for passports online in a cyber. And we only went there for a photo and the biometrics, yes, the fingerprints. Mm-hmm. And we got our passports. When the CS for Interior himself declares Nyayo House a crime scene, who wants to waste their money? Nani akona 15,000 ya kubribe watu wapatiwe passport. Now they've put such a big thing. They're advertising corruption. Go to Nyayo House. Outside there it's written, this is a corruption-free zone. Something bigger than your mattress at home. Why have they found it necessary to do that now and it was not there before? It's because that place is a crime scene. And none other than the CS for Interior has declared it a crime scene. So don't tell us about jobs abroad if you can't give us passports. They are birthrights like IDs. We should get them if possible for free. I'm not saying we need them for free. But let it be possible for every Kenyan to get a passport before you can even talk about a nursing job abroad. These MPs are not refusing to support the president's agenda. They are refusing to support lawlessness. When the High Court comes and pronounces itself and says, let's not build these houses, the way this thing is happening is unconstitutional. Yes. And then the head of state says, we are going to do it mpende msipende. His MPs will back off because they believe in the law, in the rule of law. We are not going to support lawlessness. So when these people step back, there's nothing wrong they have done. They have just respected court orders. Yes. So there's nothing wrong with MPs developing cold feet. Yes. The only thing is they do not have a problem with the housing agenda, which he complained about in his speech.
Is it also wrong for the president to demand 100% loyalty from members of parliament allied to the Kenya Kwanza?
Well, he may want to demand that, but will he get it? Unfortunately, no. Because when these members of parliament go back to the people who elected them, the people who elected them tell them, you cannot come to destroy the houses we have afforded in the name of building houses for us. Yes. Go back and don't support those houses. If you're a wise member of parliament, there's a president telling you, if you support this housing agenda, you're going to be re-elected. And you're going back home and you're being told, if you're a wise member of parliament, where will your loyalty be? It's to the people who elected you. It's the people who put you in parliament. In as much as you went on a UDA ticket, yes, but who gave you the votes? It's the people for whom you want to destroy their houses and put up other houses for them. He mentioned a leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah. You know it was a minority anyway. Let's start there. We all know it was a minority. at the elections. Then they did abracadabra, they became majority. It's fine. But you see, let me tell you, if you're a good leader, you attract people towards you. You attract people towards your agenda. Why Obama was loved is because of the person he was. Unfortunately, some of us cannot go speaking about Kimani Ichung'wah because he doesn't attract that. He once spoke on national TV, and that's why I usually like saying the things I say, because they are factual. He said on national TV that kuna mashamba tutavamia, and I wish we can play that clip. Na tutachukua hiyo mashamba. He said it. And after 2 days, you know there was a farm that was raided and goats were stolen. So those are people who do not inspire national confidence. They are people who do not inspire people to any agenda that is close to building this nation.
Yes.
So those are the people we should not even be having as leader. And when the president keeps talking about employment, why is he talking about employment? Why does he have a CS for labor, who I keep asking Kenyans what his name is? If he had an effective CS for labor, the president would never be talking about what he's going to do, about sending 2,500 nurses. He would be saying, yes, since we took up, we have done, not we are going to do, because the person who is supposed to do it is not doing it and has failed. And unless he corrects his mistakes and gets the right people and employs those people who are supposed to play a part in the development, yes, he will continue having a headache. Because the people who are supposed to work for him are not working. And I don't know what happened to Professor nowadays. Of late, he's become a Kenya Kwanza sympathizer. I don't know what people give him.
Prof, you've been put on the spot. Yes. Now listen. Prof, listen. Prof, listen. Be put on the spot. But maybe you have a chance to defend yourself. Yeah. And it comes in this. Good. Now, gentlemen, this is what we're going to... Gidega, yes, for this morning, please.
But there's some things he mentioned.
I'm going to give you a right of response as well as we come back, because we have all the time now. Prof.
Yes.
I want to read for you notes. The Daily Nation last week said jitters in the Cabinet Secretary as government prepares for a retreat in Naivasha. That in some way, somewhere, from what we were treated to last year, of the president coming in and saying, well, I do not understand why you will get late to this meeting. You are here to sign your performance contract. I do not understand why you're not in this meeting. In fact, write to me and tell me why you're late and do not include traffic in it. So you would think that the president was speaking fire, breathing fire last year. Yeah. When he said that, notable cabinet secretaries missed that meeting. We're not even sure whether they signed their performance contracts after.
Yeah.
Good. Following that, let's go review our scorecard in Naivasha.
Yeah.
And then a CS name is mentioned.
Yes.
That we're here planning to take out 2,500 nurses out of the country. The president stands up and says, I do not understand why we do not have them. Where are the 2,000? I've been speaking about this over and over again. Is it okay for us to assume then that that CS is going home? 1. 2. The president is saying, are you not aware? Today I'm going to ask clear questions for your indulgence.
Sure.
The president is standing in front of his government officials telling them, are you not aware? Goes on to say, I've come to your county, I've spoken about this. Go open your newspapers, I've spoken about this. But then, is that the way to go about government agenda? Ile ya kuongea kwa barabara na kuongea kwa gazeti instead of speaking within the government system. 2 questions for you, Prof.
Yeah, first of all, just to make that remark very clearly.
Yes.
Normally, when you want to iron up a team,
yes,
when you make it a public uproar, you shift the attention from correcting the person to actually winning on the public gallery. So the president was interested more to win the public gallery back, thinking that he's the only one who is good and everyone else here is bad. Normally, as a head of the team, you can take the hit on behalf of the team. Look at, for example, when a team loses a football match,
yes,
the coach can sometimes apologize even on behalf of his players, and he didn't play. But here, the president seems to be, he's trying to show people he's the only one who is right, he's the only one who is delivering, he's the only one who is performing, and no one is performing, which is impossible logically. There is no way all the members of the government can fail and the president succeeds. If you, as our anchor today, you are the only one who is successful, And all of us have failed, plus your camera people failed, digital team failed, everywhere has failed. I don't know who can succeed. So according to me, as a governance expert, that is not the way to lead a government. You want a leader who can take blames in equal measure as praises on behalf of the team. Because where he has done well, we won the election. Did he win the election alone? Those teams helped him, isn't it? Now delivering the government, you are all wrong, I'm right. That's not the way to look at everything. Another thing you have to understand here is that the president's style of management is always the person whom we see. We don't see any other person in this government. What am I trying to say? Can you name for me all the ministers in this government? Or for you, you are a journalist, you might know. But if we just bring any common Kenyan, tell me all the PSS and the CS of the government, all of us might even score maybe only 1 out of 100, isn't it? But if you ask Uhuru's government, you might mention more ministers than his ministers. Why? Because they allowed them to work. Kibaki's minister was even more better than Uhuru. You could know more ministers. Sometimes people say, who is the president of Kenya? Or Kibaki. You could see ministers visibly doing their work. Yes. And the president could just sit back. There are sometimes, where is Kibaki? Is he unwell? But yes, he's working. The work is ongoing. But here, take the last 50 business papers, put them, the last 50 nation newspapers. The person most of the headline is him. You don't see Bore, the one he's blaming. Who is Bore? Go ask people in the city, who is Bore? People are, what is that? Is that the watchman of the president or what? People don't know these people because they are not seen to work. It is the president who wants to take all credit for everything happening and also wants to take all the blames, explain all the failures, explain all the success, give all excuses on behalf of the country. That's not work. But what about the other thing about the agenda, like government agenda? How do you implement it? How is it that a CS is unaware? You see, let me tell you what. I told you this actually. I think I said this before. The government works this way: that the president gives the executive orders, then gets out of the way. Ministers develop ministerial policies, for example, on nurses. What was the executive order? Nurses were supposed to go now under the issue of the Ministry of Health, come up with a ministerial policy. After that, there is what is called, that is the State Department headed by PSS, come with an execution framework on how to hire those nurses. Then they'll be implementing agencies inside the state departments to do that work. That's how government works. Like at home, Simba, if you're the one who goes to work to bring money at home, you're the one who determines whether people are eating sukuma and ugali. You don't even when time are they being cooked, which temperature they're being used. Then you miss your work. So I'm trying to say here, the president needs to be the president. He does not need to be a CS and a PS. He just has to be a president. But here we're having a president who is doing everything.
Prof, I like the fact that it's very clear from you on how you're supposed to implement government development agenda. That is very clear that you have it. That well, issue an executive order, let the PSs and the CSs in this ministries then follow up and make sure that they give you results out of it. So when you stand again in front of people, gentlemen, this morning, and say, and then call out Githaiga and tell him, you are the CS in charge of that particular docket. Where are my 2,000 nurses? I've spoken about it. Is it not supposed to go home?
But you see, when Kibaki became president, you know there was nothing like Vision 2030. Those frameworks were not there. It is us economists who came up with those frameworks. And these frameworks, you see, the presidency between Kibaki and Uhuru was more like a continuation of administration. Uhuru did not knock those structures down. But here, Kenya Kwanza is changing everything to look like themselves. Now, look at now the health insurance fund. It's becoming looking like them. The school fees, the one held for the university students, looks like them. Education system wants to look like them. The government structure wants to look at them. Now even they're trying to say now even the government printer should move to State House. The president will be the printer, now pressing print. You see, what I'm trying to say here is that you cannot knock down tried and tested structures and systems. The country is so big, we just need people to do their part. And I've been talking about the issue, lack of foreign policy. lack of domestic policy, lack of administrative policy, lack of security policy, lack of education policy, lack of health policy. When you have all these policies there, they will work irrespective of who is there. And let me tell you what, Simba, if you don't cut me short.
Yes, 15 seconds, Prof.
If you want to know the importance of the strength of the institution, you go back to what happened in the US. When Trump wanted to stick to office, it is the system, structures, and policies that told Trump, go home.
You gotta be out.
So we need to strengthen our structures and systems and stop individualizing. You know, when the president calls your name on live camera, you have children, you have a family. Now, if they call you and say, Simba, what's wrong with you? What will you have to
Don't you understand English?
So we need to, so I'm trying to say, we need to focus on functions, structures, systems, and depersonalize this debate by saying, you, I came to your village, I was in your constituency. No, let's work on a proper structure, systems, processes.
Pretty much. Yes. Please, if you can. Same question I'm going to ask you. Why is the CS not aware of a government agenda first?
Which CS?
Labour.
No, don't misquote.
Hold on. Well, that's a hold on. He was speaking to the CSs who told him that they were not aware. Let's be factual on this. He asked a question.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what he asked. Are you not aware? He said, we are not aware. Just hold on. Why would it take for a treat for you to come in and say that we don't have 2,000 nurses who are supposed to make up the 2,500 nurses as the number of the nurses supposed to get employment outside the country? Number two as well, when he says that haven't you seen me speak about this, is that not pointing out to what Prof is saying this morning? That look, why is the system that is supposed to actualize this? Are we lacking a system that's supposed to actualize this? Because then if you're telling your permanent secretaries and your cabinet secretaries and your members of parliament to read the newspapers, then that means that there's no system that is supposed to come in and actualize this.
I respect you a lot, and I really honor your, the way you do your journalism. But however, I would like to correct you on that particular point. The president wasn't pointing out at Bore, Florence Bore. He only asked Bore, how many nurses, now let me tell you what he said, how many nurses have gone? Not how many have been recruited, how many have gone? And if you read today's factual papers, it says that 500 have left the country to Saudi Arabia. We're yet to get 2,000 to travel. So that doesn't mean again that the applications are not ongoing. But as we speak today, 500 have left the country, which is an achievement.
Yes,
which is an achievement. But remember, yesterday, the retreat for cabinet starts today. Yesterday was a PG. Okay? So members of parliament are not there today because they're in parliament today. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is very basic. The Minister of Labour has performed. For example, I want to give you facts. See Makelele. Germany has offered 250,000 jobs. These jobs rank from professionals, skilled and semi-skilled. 250,000 jobs. Even you can confirm with the embassy of Germany.
But also not
1 minute.
Not specific.
No, you know, because
you're
trying to point that CS has underperformed. Just make it factual. She has come up with Kenya Labour Market Information System.
That is 250,000 jobs.
That's an achievement in the Ministry of Labour. 30,000 Kenyans to go to Israel. 20,000 to go to Serbia, 10,000 to go to Russia. That's over 310,000 jobs they have created in 1 year. You know, my brother mentioned that how many CSs are known. They were all known in Kibaki's time. For God's sake, give the cabinet of William Samoei Ruto a break. They've only been there 1 year and maybe 5 months, 6 months. So you don't expect Kenyans to know them yet. They have not yet dealt with the issues that were left by his party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta. Major issues, mismanagement. So what we are saying is this. The government is organized, the government is whipped, and the government is performing. You cannot underestimate the government and judge it
and compare it with a 10-year government and a 1.5-year government.
I like that you're pointing numbers and facts on it. But I'm also going to tell Kenyans the truth that these 250,000 jobs that are open in Germany are not just open for Kenyans. It's well-known information that once let's be factual. Let's be factual because let's be factual. We've looked at those portals. Who qualifies to work in Germany?
Let me tell you.
Because that's the first question that we got to answer. Yes.
A bilateral was signed.
That's it.
That's all. You don't sign a bilateral with Tanzania. Let me tell you. You sign a bilateral with Kenya. So when they signed, they gave the opportunity for 250 professional, semi-skilled, and skilled laborers to go to Germany. So it is upon us to now apply for those jobs. And that's why you see some of these jobs, my friend,
make it clear.
Some of these jobs, you don't have even to travel to Germany. And that's why the president came up with that Finya computer and a dollar, which is actually a government program.
And please make it clear.
So let's not just fight government for the sake of fighting government.
Pretty much.
His Excellency William Samoei Ruto continue doing the job you're doing. It's a good job. We know the media most of the times they will come up with stories and say that
I'm not fighting you this morning. Yes, but I just want to answer this question. I belong to the media profession. Just hold on, Prof. That at the end of the day, you are also aware that indeed there's been the complaint that in as much as these jobs are available, there's a qualification issue that's coming up. The president himself has come out to complain that majority of Kenyans are not applying to these jobs that he's seeking out for, isn't it?
What do you mean qualifications, my friend?
Yes.
According to the qualification index of Africa. Listen, qualification, yani you're talking about educated people and skilled. Kenya is number one.
And the quota.
We're the best. So there is no way that we don't have skilled labor.
The quota that these jobs are asking for example, to work in Germany, the qualifications are known. And what is turning out is the majority of Kenyans who these jobs are getting open to cannot apply for these jobs because indeed, in as much as the bilateral agreements are there, they do not qualify to apply for this job.
Let me help you here. Before you interject me,
I'm going to come to you.
He cannot steal my time. What we are saying is this.
Yes, Kedaiga.
I'm challenging you.
Yes.
In the next show to come with those facts. Kenya has the most qualified laborers,
and we do
even from semi-skilled to skilled to professional.
And we do not
I dispute that fact.
That's it. Simba, the only person who might help this conversation.
Just 1 minute, yes, before I give it to Fanyamambo.
I've been in Germany. I've taught in Germany. I'm a visiting professor in Germany. I've set up a health institute in Strasbourg. We've done all these partnerships and the rest. But even forget about the issue of academic qualification. Let's go to basic thing. To work in Germany, you need to learn German. You cannot work in Germany in your mother tongue. That's a fact. So before you go to Germany, you can't say you are a nurse and you are going to nurse Germans in your mother tongue or English or Swahili. That is required to work. To study, you need to have German. Those are requirements. Go to the website of Germany. Secondly, to get a visa to Germany, you need at least 750,000 shillings balance in your bank account.
This is a government to government deal. This is not a private job.
It does not matter.
No, it matters.
No, Germans have not said that.
And there is no way you have to speak German. You don't have to speak German.
Gidaga, I can tell you for sure,
no one will hire for you. In Germany, they speak even English.
No one will hire for you translators. I've been there. I've been to Germany. There's difficulty. Even in Switzerland, they even say 3 out of 10 German you meet can speak English. And you are going to take care of all people, people who are sick. Why do you put them in the stress of speaking English? Let us just be honest here. Let's not lie here. So,
let me tell you, people will not speak German.
Prof, let me give Fanyamambo.
People will not speak.
I'll be coming to, but we have an entire
hour for this. That qualification is a reality. There is no country that can tell you come the way you want because there's bilateral. Bilateral does not add anybody a qualification.
But Fanyamambo, here's a question I want to ask as well, and you have a right of response to what Gedaiga has submitted this morning on this particular issue for government agenda. Fanyamambo, and I keep on asking Gedaiga this question, that indeed it's quite factual that the president was a bit concerned that we still don't have these 2,000 nurses. That's why he said, well, guys, where are they? We still need 2,000 nurses, so I need to see the numbers. And the CS labor was right there. Number two, does it have to take for a retreat for you to see that a certain area in your government is functioning fanyamambo? And if that is the case, should we see majority of them then go home?
I've always told my friend Githaiga,
yes,
when the debate gets too hot, you increase the depth of your content, not the volume of your speech. It's the depth of the content that changes the whole debate. And one thing they need to understand, I speak perfect German. And one thing they need to understand is that every road sign in Germany is in German. Even the marks to the toilets are in German language. Everything in that country is in their language. If you go to Russia, everything in that country is in their language. By the way, wachana na Germany, unaona hata kwenda UK, they ask you to do an IELTS test. And by that time, you are a degree holder. You are doing a test to see if your English is okay.
Yes.
We speak better English than Americans. But even to go to the US, they ask you to do an IELTS test just to see if you know English and you understand English and you can speak English. The fact that you have signed a bilateral agreement will not change the road signs in Germany to make them English. That will not change them. It will not change the mark on every door, including ladies and gents, to be in German. And all the laws and all the courts,
yes,
they speak in German. You will not go to a court for a traffic offense and they ask you what language you speak. You'll be lucky to get a translator. If you commit a traffic offense, everything will be presided in the German language. So you ask yourself, do you want to send your child, your daughter, your son, or whoever to a country just because they've been told there's an opportunity? And from the minute they land at the airport, they are disadvantaged because everything, including where it's written, nicht rauchen, do not smoke, it's in German. Das ist verboten, that is forbidden, is in German. So we are sending a child to a place where from the word go, they are disadvantaged. And they're supposed to work there. You send them to a hospital. Everything, including the drip hanging there that they're supposed to administer on the patient, is in German. So let's be honest with our people. Let's not talk like Kenya Kwanza, who are careless to promise you anything. They can even promise you oxygen will start falling from the air every other night when you need it. They can tell you anything, that they'll even switch off the sun. They've come up with a switch for reducing the heat of the sun. These people will tell you anything. But as Kenyans, you have to be careful and to listen to them with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
And to start saying, wait a minute, you have failed us. Look at what is happening within the mountain. If a by-election was to happen within Mount Kenya today, do you think Kenya Kwanza would get that seat? And they know, and they are going, and they are visiting the people, and the people are telling them. So when you hear the president asking the cabinet whether they understand English,
yes,
if the parliamentarians do not understand what he's telling them, do you think the people on the ground understand? They are not even listening. They are not even willing to hear. They don't even want it. So, and then I ask myself, a parliamentary group meeting in Naivasha, how much money do you think was spent yesterday to have that PG in Naivasha? This is something that should have happened at KICC. It's something that should have happened within, because every senator, every member of parliament has got a house in Nairobi. Just Google how much it costs to have those meetings in those hotels. Government has a lot of facilities, including Kenya School of Government, to host these people. But you're going there to pay for 10 o'clock tea, 1 o'clock, and that is on our money. Usidanganywe ati President Ruto alitoka hapa akatumia pesa yake ya mfuko akafuel hizo magazla zake zote kwenda Naivasha. On fuel alone that was put on all those cars to go to Naivasha, in the hundreds, and all of them are more than 3,000 cc. How much money do you think was spent on fuel alone? So this is a government that is insensitive to the needs of our people. They are wasting every coin available and then collecting it by fiat. KRA is so busy disturbing taxpayers left, right, and center, knocking on their doors looking for money to fuel guzzlers and waste a lot of money on one day, going to hold a PG in Naivasha. What was so wrong in even them talking to the speaker and seeing when parliament is not available and they use one of those chambers? I mean, there's a lot of missing facility, because I can tell you every legislator has a house in Nairobi. Even those ones from Mombasa, that's how they make it to parliament every day. So to start with, this is an insensitive government. Why are you holding a PG in Naivasha? Why are you wasting our money taking people there to have meetings there? So there are many things. You know, some people just look at, there was a meeting in how did it even happen? What time did they leave? What was the fuel allowance for each of them?
Yes.
How much was spent on accommodation for those who spent there, and food, and so on and so forth? I mean, let's be a frugal government. Let's think about Mwananchi when we are going to talk about him, because you are busy saying you are creating jobs for him by first wasting the taxes that you are collecting from the few who are able to pay. So it's not a government that cares about Kenyans, if you ask me. And for those jobs, by the way,
yes,
I wouldn't want to become the president who is very busy promising people jobs in other people's countries. Can you imagine? Some presidents have done so well for their own people, created enough jobs for their people. Now they have excess. They are looking for those presidents. I don't want to call them weaker presidents, to bring people from their nations to come and work in their countries. Why can't we become that nation that has created so many opportunities that Ugandans, Tanzanians, Rwandans, Burundis, and all the others, including those Germans, are coming to look for opportunities here? Why are we also always the presidents who are busy campaigning for jobs in other people's countries? What's wrong with us? Thank you.
There's something I want to debate on that.
Prof, you know
first of all,
I think it's fair. It's fair that
first of all, I just want, Prof, sorry, I'm very sorry, Professor. First of all, I would like to say this, that my voice has got nothing to do with it.
Yes.
If he has a girly voice, you know, a soft voice, that's his nature.
It's the volume.
So, hold on.
It's not
it's
the
my
pitch.
voice. It's the way I speak. Even now, the way I'm speaking, that's how I speak. So if he speaks softly, that's his. That's mine. Anyway, that's not the matter. What I'm raising is this. Let's not have a petty discourse, bro. Going to Naivasha has been practice of all governments. And I can tell you, because I saw him last week in Jubilee Party. You know, he denied that he's not in Jubilee Party.
I've never denied.
He denied in TV live. He said he's not a member of Jubilee.
I am a member of Jubilee.
So you remember, anytime you see viewers, anytime you see this gentleman, he's here to oppose everything.
No.
If he knew what the president was going to wear today, he would also oppose that.
No.
So I just want to create awareness on that, because he is here just to attack the Kenya Kwanza government and to say lies.
Yes.
Because those are total lies.
Yes.
They were in Naivasha, but that is practice. How do you say you take a parliamentary group meeting to Kenya School of Government?
Take it to KICC.
No, why KICC? It's just KICC has got its own schedules. There are people who have already hired KICC. Why do you want to take it to KICC? My friend,
even
if you serve Uhuru Kenyatta, and I had Uhuru Kenyatta just the other day trying to beat down this government,
and we're gonna come back to that.
That's the same message he's sending. The person who actually threw Kenya into the mtaro is none other than his party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta.
That's it. It's a good introduction. Prof, guess what? Once we come back, I will give you a right of response, and you're going to introduce as the next subject. Because essentially, you're going to look at exactly what both Fanyamambo and Githaiga have presented this morning. You're going to have a right of response to that. And just for the sake of the audience that is watching Githaiga, we've got to end like this, for the sake of being factual. Here, on the issue for the 2,000 nurses, the president wasn't asking the lawmakers on the ground, they were asking CS Bore. Because this is ministerial agenda. We play that clip? That's it. And there we are. And I'm going to read it and we're going to play it again. Please. This is what it says, and this is something that is covered on www.lookuptv.co.ke. That CS Bore. How far are we with that? Now see, we've only gotten 500 people for these jobs. That is RUTO, and we're going to play it once we come back again. Because he singled the CS out for why we do not have the next 2,000 nurses. We're going to be on it as well. Once we come back, guess who featured again in that particular retreat? President Uhuru Kenyatta. Why? Because he's asking the government not to look backwards. Forge ahead, according to him. The president and the DP have a problem with that. Once we come back, we start with the Prof. Good morning.
Mambo ni mawili: kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Amuka we msee. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time hata angalia barabara. Wewe dereva wewe. Mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 1000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa twende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana RUTO Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo. Wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia RUTO Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Lookuptv welcomes you to attend the first career fair themed The Place of Education and Technical Skills in a Digitally Disruptive Era. The event will be streamed live on our TV and digital platforms. There will be a battery of professional speakers from diverse career disciplines. Join us for an opportunity to sharpen your career choices and make informed decisions for the future at the University of Nairobi Towers on the 22nd of February as from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Don't miss out.
Welcome back to the morning drift. We're still on it. The Prof is going to come back and talk about the issues that have been raised by both Fanya Mambo and Githaiga. In case you're just joining us, we are looking back at that president's opening speech of that retreat that is still going to go on for the next 3 days. And Naivasha, the government looking at the government agenda and looking at exactly how they've scored so far. So but before we introduce the Prof, guess what? Uhuru Kenyatta is still appearing in this government's agenda in terms of why they are not really scoring as they ought to, as what they say. And I'm going to put it like that because that's what they're saying. And guess what? Uhuru Kenyatta was part of that communique yesterday. Let's take a look, come back with a Prof, and then essentially table that conversation.
President William Ruto didn't spare to reiterate on the former president's criticizing remarks on his government. Uhuru Kenyatta idiomatically comparing Kenya Kwanza leadership to a driver who keeps on looking at the rear mirror, which he argues this can drive the country into a ditch.
Kama wewe ndio umepatiwa steering wheel ya kuendesha, kama ni county ya Nyandarua, kama ni constituency hii, kama ni nchi ya Kenya, pale popote, kama wewe ni kiongozi wa maana. Kiongozi wa maana anashika steering wheel, anaangalia mbele. Sio kila saa kuangalia rear view ati ametoka wapi. Unaangalia mbele. Ukiwa mtu wa kuendesha ukiangalia rear view mirror, wewe ni mtu wa kupeleka gari katika
However, the president wouldn't hesitate to give a response as he blew his own trumpet on the current government projects, saying they are indispensable, contrary to the previous regimes.
In fact, when I had one of our friends say yesterday, when, I don't know the day yesterday or the day before, that when he sees things, he feels like crying. It is true. Because they are now wondering, it was actually true that housing was possible, and we wasted time on reggae. You know, they feel like crying because they can actually see this housing was actually possible. Even those who are opposed to the housing program, it is not because they don't know that it is the right thing. Their problem is that it is us who are implementing, not them.
On his side, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua didn't temporize to defend his boss' leadership, where he continued to censure the retired president, saying that it is important to retrace to avoid occurrence of the same mistakes that almost led the country into a state of liquidity.
I had somebody saying that you should not look at the rear mirror. I want to encourage you to continue looking at the rear mirror, because the inventor of the motor vehicle was not mad by putting the rear mirror. In your leadership, Your Excellency, you have made it very clear that no Kenyan should be left behind. So you must continuously continue looking at the rear mirror to make sure that all Kenyans are on board and they are not left behind.
Nevertheless, Uhuru Kenyatta was advising the current leaders to let go of the past and focus on critical issues affecting Kenyans at the moment, where he spoke at a burial of the wife to the former cabinet secretary Amos Kimunya in Nyandarua County. Ruga Iwal, Lookuptv.
That's it then. It's time then for us to table that conversation as well, because indeed the previous administration's failures, according to the president and his deputy, are what is put his government in the state. Good. So, Prof, we're going to handle that, but then slightly I want you to go back and clear on the sentiments that you had before we went on that break.
Yeah, I think Fanyamambo happened to mention something that I was giving a presser yesterday regarding the trip to Naivasha.
Yes.
I've done the maths. Since Kenya Kwanza took over administration,
yes,
they have done retreat in Naivasha, they have done Mombasa, there's one which has happened in Mount Kenya, there's one that took place in South B. The total cost for that, those retreats, in total, if I calculate this until when they leave on Wednesday, will be 10 billion shillings.
Please.
Yes, yes.
Listen,
no,
guys.
Githaiga, why don't you
know, sometimes...
Githaiga, hold on.
Okay, let me, sorry, I apologize.
It might give you the math.
Okay,
that's what we're waiting for.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
You see, for example, to take Gachagua to that place is 30 Gazlas, because Gachagua goes on 30. Mudavadi goes on 15.
It's true.
Every CS goes on 7 Gazlas each. These are Toyota Kenya vehicles, Land Cruisers, V8s. And then every PS goes on 5. Economic advisors goes on 5 each. The total vehicles for Kenya Kwanza is 1,625 if we exclude the presidential motorcade. Because that's what I don't want to talk about, isn't it? That's something I shouldn't talk about. So if you collect all that together, service to Toyota Kenya per month is 30,000 shillings. Because once they do 5,000 kilometers, they do for service. Per day, they do 150 liters of fuel per day. These are figures I get from very reliable sources. Remember that there's nothing I don't know about Kenya Kwanza government. Because being a professor, I have taught over 1 million executives, and these executives are sitting in that Kenya Kwanza government. I can get any report I want. I can say this on live television. And Githaiga should bring his numbers. They say, in God we trust, the rest bring numbers. So if you don't have numbers, you cannot just say, because the numbers look glaring.
Githaiga, get ready.
I have done the numbers, I've done the math. So I've counted the details, how I reach 1,625 vehicles. Now, following them, just talk about the price of fuel per liter, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're doing 150 liters per day, just multiply by 210, for example, isn't it? You see where that figure lies. So it's so costly and it's so insensitive. Secondly, and for me, this is the most important thing. I don't want just to throw words at the president, isn't it? Let us put him to account because he says that his government is failing him. What I'm putting to account is that he said he'll cut the cost of running government by 300 billion shillings, isn't it? But it is not happening. It's only skyrocketing. By going to Naivasha for these 5, even if you look at 4 PG and cabinet meeting or government retreats, in 1 year, we are doing that. Is it necessary? During Uhuru Kenyatta that he's blaming, How many retreats did he have in a year? It's so many. In fact, what have they done to review? If you look at all the goals, the 10-point agenda, isn't it? They have scored 0. In fact, I've been telling people that Arsenal for the previous time has scored 21 goals in 360 minutes, isn't it? Compared to 0 goals from Kenya Kwanza for the last 365 and above days, 500 something days. So what I'm trying to say here is that how can a team score in 360 minutes 21 goals, and here you score none and you see no more time? So when Githaiga says it's just 1 year, Bana, you go and tell your wife and tell them that kids can't go to school, you can't pay school fees, there is no healthcare system. Tell them, we have just been married for 1 year. It cannot work. Simba, I don't know that you are married, but the women want delivery on day 1. You cannot perform where you need to perform, isn't it? Food is not at home. There's no one who can get anything even, and you're telling them, you know what, we have just been married for 1 year. That woman expects to switch from wedding to good life, because you have to plan. They had a plan, isn't it? So that having said that, I want to point out something very critical here about the nicest application, because it is not about Bore applying. How attractive is these jobs in Saudi Arabia or Germany that nurses are not applying? And I give contrary to what happened comparing foreign jobs and local jobs. When they wanted to hire GSU in Embakasi, 10,000 people appeared for a job that needed only around 100 applications, isn't it?
Yes, only 700.
Only 700, isn't it? Yes. Over 10,000 appeared. But here, we are struggling to get 2,000. Does it make sense? There must be something wrong in these maths. There's something which is not mathing in this Kenya Kwanza maths. So I'm asking myself, do Kenyans really feel they need to work abroad? And then secondly, the inconsistency in this thing that currently we are being asked to pay more money to a health insurance scheme so that you can afford more health care. And according to, at the moment, we have WHO standard that says that for 1,000 population, we need 2.5 physician. Yet Kenya, we are doing for 100,000 population, we have 1 physician. Now we are taking them abroad. Who will take care of you when you get sick? You see, these are what I call wisdom of fools. You are trying to skew a German problem, but then you are Kenyan problem. So is William Ruto a Kenyan? Do we want to question the issue of nationalistic things? We have been nationalistic. Every country put their interests first. Americans do the same. Germany, in this agreement, they talk about their interests first. They don't care whether they have nurses. So according to me, Kenya Kwanza need to put Kenya Kwanza, not them Kwanza.
Germany Kwanza.
What deal is it that makes them take nurses out of this country? Because then they can afford a flight out of the country. But the common mwananchi cannot fly to Germany to be attended by the nurses which have been taken away from Kenya to Germany. But for them, they can attend their treatment in Germany if they want. So according to me, if you're a woman there, my brother, my sister watching me at home, when the nurses will eventually be taken out of this country, I'm talking about 250,000 jobs out of this country, where will you get your services from? And then we are paying a lot of money in our education system to educate these people, then take them outside the country. Of course, you can tell me about foreign direct investment, but they are building capacity to offer services to Kenyans here. The third point I have is that, unfortunately, the service delivery in this Kenya Kwanza government is the worst in the history of Kenya. Look about the passport printing. You try to access any government services, the level of corruption is always correlated with poor service. A country that has high corruption normally have poor service. And people can lower services down so that they ask for money. That's why the printing of passports is not going faster, ID is not going faster, so that you have to be desperate and pay 15,000. Do you want to tell me the people being given 15,000 is a Kenyan from Azimio? Do you want to tell me that they are from, for example, from Jubilee Party that belongs to my brother there, fanya mambo. There must be connected people within Kenya Kwanza that are creating the business for this syndicate. And in fact, you pay, you make it inconvenient, then you're told to bring convenience fee plus corruption fee. So according to me, service delivery is a good thing. And I'll tell William Ruto one thing. If you want to succeed, forget about how you want to talk or fight opposition. Yes. Deliver to Kenyans and all will go well. Because if you ask me, when Kenyans are happy, they are going to be okay. Then I also want to ask him, when you talk about the issue of house, levy, insurance, health fund, telling MPs to back him and the rest, they have backed him to pass through that illegal thing and draconian bail. But let me tell you what, it is not creating the jobs that he's talking about. Because he was trying to tell people that ninyi nikiwatembelea, you are telling me I should give you a job to a politician who lost a job. But common mwananchi, hiyo ni propaganda. Because the truth of the matter is that there is no 120,000 people who have gotten a job from affordable housing, because these houses were built by Uhuru Kenyatta. That is the truth of the matter. Because if you ask me, you have a neighbor, Simba, or even you, my brother Githaiga, do you have a neighbor, a friend, a relative, or anyone you know who has gotten a Mujengo job? But I can tell you how many people would be wishing, like if you walk on this street here where we are, you see people joining up now, they are eating kangumu and tea on a Mujengo site. They are not Kenya Kwanza Mujengo sites. If you go here in Lavington, you see all that place, the place Mbazi Avenue. The people are building there. They are private constructors who are doing that job. They are eating kangumu, they are eating chapati and tea as they do Mujengo job. They are visible, you can see. A county-wide project and it's not visible. But you cannot have an elephant walking on Uhuru Highway and no one can see it. But if you have a rat walking on Uhuru Highway, we may even knock it. You've never seen any accident where a vehicle has knocked an elephant. But here we have an elephant project called House Levy that is completely invisible. There must be something wrong. So according to me, what we need in Kenya Kwanza is talk less, do more. Corruption the same way. He was said that back, no biked, isn't it? Yes. The president needs to talk less and lead. Then lastly, leadership is what, my brother? This is key point. Leadership is about followership. So if no one is following the president in Kenya Kwanza, all this cabinet he has plus MPs are not following him, then he's not the leader. So he is actually failing himself rather than blaming them. Because if I'm a leader, you attract. You must be a magnet. People want to follow you where you are going. Are Kenyans, forget about the people who are earning money from him. Kenyans, all of them, Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, all those people, even us who are the commoners, are we following the president towards what? Because the problem we have, we don't have any nationalized, publicized development plan to follow. So everything is the president. There is no manifesto. We don't know whether Kenya Kwanza runs on capitalism or communism or socialism. The only manifesto is the president, William Ruto. So that cannot be followed. We want to follow purposeful leadership. What is your purpose? We follow your purpose, not just you.
Githaiga.
Yes.
Some question. But somebody, and I'm going to read it, but we have a lot of comments that we're going to go through this morning. But let me just pick one comment here for Dav Mwangi, who's saying, at what point in this administration's tenure are they going to stop mentioning President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yes. Let me tell you, you cannot stop mentioning Uhuru Kenyatta because he was a former president, number one. And that is very humble, with all my humility to the audience. Yes. You cannot stop mentioning Uhuru Kenyatta because he was the president for 10 years. And therefore, everything he did had an effect and is having an effect to today, up to date. However, even on this matter that you've highlighted, remember the clip you've just shown us? Who started all these things? It is Uhuru Kenyatta. It is Uhuru Kenyatta who spoke at a funeral. It is not William Samoei Ruto. William Samoei Ruto only responded and he didn't mention names. Neither did Uhuru. But Uhuru mentioned those who are leading government kwa mtaro. He's the one who insulted the president. He's the one who has picked up a fight with His Excellency the President. And I want to tell Uhuru Kenyatta today, I know he's a bitter man, that William Samoei Ruto has chosen Raila Amolo Odinga as the candidate for the AU, And Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to misuse Raila Odinga na hii mambo ya maandamano. That is why he was bitter. You could even see the way he was speaking with a lot of bitterness. Uhuru Kenyatta, stop being bitter. You served your 10 years. Whether you passed or you failed, that is for you to deal with. Right now we have a new president of the Republic of Kenya who was elected legally, of which you have never accepted. So therefore, Uhuru Kenyatta is the main reason why we are facing all these economic hardships. And because Uhuru Kenyatta was a drunkard, Uhuru Kenyatta he has come on television drunk. Even in State House, he has come drunk. That is why Kenya needed a sober leader like William Samoei Ruto, a leader who is taking...
I think that's
a leader. No,
I think that's out of order.
You're not his lawyer.
No. We are in studio for decent conversation. You cannot.
Please, can we have a debate with you? Not him.
Yes. Are you able to quantify?
You see, let me tell you. Okay, let me withdraw.
That's it.
I have withdrawn. Yes. But what I am saying, he appeared to be somebody who was intoxicated. In fact, you can show many clips here. It is not me, it is the media. We can't quantify the media. But it is the media. Yes. Listen, it is the media who has been saying that. But anyway, that is not my point. I'm not here to personally attack an individual. Yes. I was just pointing out between a sober person who we have in William Samoei Ruto. If Uhuru Kenyatta...
Yes.
Prof. Simba.
Prof.
Just give us
He had his time.
Yes.
You have to
Prof. I want to
finish. You cannot
Gadaiga. But even at the end of the day,
I withdrew the statement.
Even at the end of the day, even at the end of the day, you also don't want to.
Uchungu. That's why they are feeling pain. Uhuru Kenyatta served. To me, he failed. He failed this country. I don't know what you're telling us. Let me finish my point.
Could you answer the question then, Gadaiga? That at what point is it going to be government agenda as opposed to...
At the point which Uhuru Kenyatta respects William Samoei Ruto, because it is Uhuru Kenyatta who said yesterday live on TV that Ruto and his government anatupa watu kwa mtaro. Let me tell you, it is Uhuru Kenyatta who got us in an economic mtaro.
Are you concerned that in a government review, when we're going to review the scorecard of CSS, that Uhuru Kenyatta features in that?
Listen to me, brother. Yes. William Samoei Ruto responded because Uhuru Kenyatta insulted him.
He didn't have
by
to.
Saying, saying that he's driving the country to Amtaro. The person who drove Kenya to Amtaro is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Yes,
let me just finish my point.
Let me
clear my points. Number two, I want to tell my friend.
Yes.
There is about 20,000 Kenyans living in Germany. As near as 2017, there were about 12,000. Now they've increased to about 20,000.
Yes.
And actually 75% of those people who live in Germany are women, right? 30% are men. And all those Kenyans who went to Germany could not speak German when they went there, my friend. Wait, hold on a minute. Even this guy, he had to learn it. CS Bore was in Germany in February, early this month.
Yes, good.
And she announced in the media that the Kenyans who want to go to Germany need to start learning basic German. And it is not hard. Kenyans are intelligent. These two Kenyans here are underrating Kenyans by thinking Kenyans cannot learn German. Whether it's written in German road signs, that's nothing. Kenyans will learn it because it's about making a livelihood. Let me conclude.
So you do agree that there's a qualification then just before you go to German?
You have to learn German. That is a fact. But there are how many Kenyans living in Germany? 20,000.
But 75% are women.
75% are women. But what I'm trying to point out here, listen, what I'm trying to point out here, they went there without knowing the German language.
You don't have
and
to.
Today,
if you're getting married, if you're getting married from Germany, you don't have to.
Don't really look down on our women. No. As professionals. They don't go there to get married.
75% is on an accident.
Yes, exactly. But I'm telling you, because they're suitable for the jobs that the Germans require. Okay? And even in Kenya, majority of the citizens are women. So you cannot say that. I want to conclude by saying this. William Samoei's government has the plan This gentleman has just lied to Kenyans again and saying that this government has no plan. It has the bottom-up agenda. That is the plan of government. And you can see the implementation of this plan going on every time. I also want to refute that there is no way the retreat of 1.5 years has cost 10 billion. Let me give you an example. The hotel they are staying at this time charges 25,000 shillings full board. There are 22 cabinet secretaries. That is how much per day? 500,000. In 4 days, that is 2 million shillings.
Yes.
So this gentleman is lying to Kenyans, saying that William Samoei Ruto is using money, and it's only 2 million to host those people there. Okay? Okay, add even the MPs who were there yesterday. It would not cost more than 10 million shillings. So therefore, Professor, in his whole professorship, he's lying to Kenyans in broad daylight.
Then
the other one I want to point out.
The total cost.
Listen, there is no way, and the professor is lying. There is no way 10 billion has been spent on retreats in 1 year, because that's what he said.
Did you count per diem?
No, wait, brother.
Did you count allowance?
Listen, it doesn't matter. It cannot. No,
Yes.
listen. No, I want to take you back to Nyanyuki.
Yes.
Let me take you back to Nyanyuki.
Yes.
The cabinet secretaries and all those people had a retreat last year in Nyanyuki.
Yes.
The president told them, if any member of staff of yours is going to be here, you'll pay for them yourself, not the government. So my brother is lying. There were no members of staff. Government is actually working under austere measures, and that is what is happening. In fact, in terms of boards and all that, they are not allowed to go for retreats. It's only the cabinet that is allowed to go according to the government. Let me conclude like this. Yes. Let me conclude. He said 1,600 vehicles. That is a lie. I can quote here. PS for Foreign Affairs, Korir Sing'oei, goes with 1 vehicle. There is no PS in Kenya who goes with more than 3 vehicles in Kenya. But he was lying, obviously. We are sure these are the same people.
That's it. Just
I have the numbers.
Yes.
I have the numbers. Even the president himself, his entourage is not more than 20 vehicles. And that's the entire president. So this gentleman came here with an agenda to lie to Kenyans. And Kenyans, I beg you, please, do not listen to these naysayers. Because what they have is they want to be in leadership, but they are here to attack the president of Kenya. And we will not sit down, lying down, and accept lies to be sold to Kenyans.
So what you're saying is the numbers would actually be plausible. Your numbers, what you're saying is the numbers will be plausible. Because you're saying, because they're not specific, you're saying that there's no CS who goes with more than 3 vehicles.
Yes, I have the numbers.
Just hold on again.
You know, he lied. He lied here.
Before the accusation. So you're saying that, well, there's no CS who goes with more than 3 vehicles.
Yes.
So what if you do an average of 3 for every CS that's going to turn
Even if you do an average of 3, 22 times 3 is what? Calculate.
That's a 66.
Look at the numbers. Just hold on. Listen.
We can do the math.
Listen to me. He said government officers, cabinet, and the president, and all those use 1,600 vehicles. And just now, you've calculated 3 on average times 22 is 66. Sawa. So where is he getting 1,600? So it clearly shows you that this guy, I'm not calling him a jammer, because he said he's been in jammer.
Hold on, because he's actually doing the math right now. Because if you're saying then that probably 22 of them will go with 3, that is 66, that's fine, but they're not the only ones who are there as well. The members of parliament were there as well, isn't it?
Now, members of parliament own their vehicles. Sawa. Look, members of parliament own their vehicles. And members of parliament, listen, but generally members of parliament are under the Public Service Commission.
Which essentially becomes a government cost. That's exactly what he was saying.
Every cost in government, including the parliamentarian salaries paid by Treasury.
That's it.
Sawa.
Which is a government
Public Service Commission.
That's exactly.
So what we are saying is this. Let us be honest. Let us be truthful. There is no money like 10 billion shillings that has been spent on retreats. These are lies. And I'm actually starting to question the credibility of the professor here.
It's actually going to get back to you.
Let's get back to
Here's the thing, because
we are ready.
Just hold on. Gedaiga, just before you question the credibility of the professor on the panel.
No, he's okay in school. I know he's studying.
That's okay.
But I'm saying,
Gedaiga, just before you question the credibility of the professor, then you got to go like, well, Gedaiga, but government costs is the total government cost. And I listened to the prof carefully. He said, well, when a member of parliament is seated there, when a CS is seated there, when the president is seated there, when the deputy president is seated there, that is government cost. That members of parliament are paid by who?
Yes, it's
That's
right.
it.
Look,
it is government cost, isn't it? Just, I'm going to come to you on that. Yes, I'm going to come to you on that.
They went for a retreat to work.
That's it. Good. And he was talking about the retreat to work in Naivasha. That's it. Fanya mambo. Gadaga be coming to you. Just Fanya mambo has to speak. Yeah, I'll be coming back to you. Fanya mambo, yes.
I've been very measured. I've been very measured.
That's it.
And I'll tell you.
Go in, yes.
If you look at today's People Daily,
Business Daily, isn't it?
Business
Yeah,
Daily,
yes.
sorry, on page 8.
Yes.
It talks of State House having spent 1.3 billion in 1 year on luxuries only. Audited Government of Kenya reports.
1.3 billion, not 10 billion.
Just hold on. Just hold on. That's State House. State House.
This Kenya Kwanza bag is taking you badly. Let me tell you.
Yes.
So if State House alone has spent 1.3 billion.
Yes.
State House alone.
In 1 year on luxuries. My friend, it's here.
Page
8 at the bottom. My friend, what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
In fact, the president has been hailed as the most traveled president in the world at 50 trips in 1 year. No other president has done that.
And one that has secured a job.
Tunibu is coming second at 16 trips. This guy has done 50 in a year.
Yes.
And spent 1.3 billion on State House only, which basically is 100 million a month. And if you divide by 30 days, you can tell how much that is. If you take 100 divided by 30 days.
34 million there, about.
Per day. These guys are gobbling $1 million an hour. Tau at State House. On luxuries only. That's one item. Today's People Daily, the headlines, if you look at it, is showing the photo of the controller of budget, saying how RUTO spent 3.3 billion on luxury. Now, they spent 700 million building a presidential dais at State House for one president. And then 450 million for all the youth in Kenya, for the youth fund. So all the youth in Kenya, 450 million for the year. One presidential dais at State House for one president, 700 million.
Yes.
And then there is now also money that has gone into, and it is on the papers, and it is the Auditor General. Me, I talk of audited reports. I don't talk of hegemony and nonsense and things that cannot be substantiated. This is the administration you're looking at. He has opened his mouth and told us, as if it's a very good thing, that it's only 25,000 full board. Let me tell you, many of the Kenyans cannot afford rent for 25,000 per month, not per night. So when you have an administration that spends 25,000 on one person for one night and thinks that it is comfortable, we have a problem. And that's why you're sweating. When this government goes to a place where they feel that it is okay for government to spend 25,000 on one person, and mind you, the people who are paying this 25,000 for one person,
yes.
The people who are paying this 25,000 for one person,
yes,
literally were walking this morning from Kawangware to CBD. They were walking.
Yes.
In fact, he shouldn't say it again on TV because people will be surprised. You know, somebody in Kawangware, I may have never heard that it is possible to spend 25,000 in one night because he works for a salary of 12,000.
Full board.
Yes. No.
It's breakfast, dinner, lunch, and sleep.
Please don't tell Kenyans that. They will stone you.
Yeah,
I am already telling you.
Are you trying to say that Kenya government should not work?
Just hold on.
I did not interfere with him.
Yes.
I'm just telling him that for someone who earns 12,000 and walks to town every other day to work, and then you tell him there's a minister he's walking to town for, to be taxed for, so that he can spend it in one night, and you think it is normal. It is not normal. When we are saying of affordable housing, those hotels do not form part of affordable housing, because 25,000 per night in 30 days, if somebody was to spend there, that's how much? More than 750,000 shillings? And these Kenyans are being told to now start buying houses where they can pay affordably 10,000, 12,000, 5,000, 6,000. What is source for the goose has got to be source for the gander. But I can tell you, as we sit today, the government we have, if it is advised by the likes of Githaiga, has a problem. Because you are telling those people to come in a public rally and tell them, we only spent 25,000 a night. Kenyans will stone you. Some of them collectively do not collect 25,000 in 3 months. Hata akiunganisha pesa yake for 3 months, haitafika 25,000.
Yes, yes.
And you are telling him that it was spent by one minister in one night, and that was on full board only. He has another guzzler to spend on, and security guards and so on. The other question is this. Our permanent secretaries, who wants to kill them? Why do they need 3 cars?
No, I said.
Come on, why do they need all that? Why is all this opulence? What is it for? Is it necessary? So I keep saying, as a nation,
yes,
we need to get to the point where we become sensitive to mwananchi, because we are not. And we need to come down from those horses that we have climbed on and start thinking in the way that the ordinary Kenyan is thinking. And we are far from it. The amount of taxes we are collecting,
yes,
the fujo with which we are collecting these taxes, and then the way in which we are spending these taxes is horrible.
Yes.
When the controller of the budget comes and says that there's when need dias, just think of a dias. Nini niyo inatumiwa 700 million to build a dias, surely. And then all the youth in Kenya, you give them 400 million. And then you come and say that is an administration that cares about Kenyans, bottom up. And he has kept mentioning bottom up, and it is working. Fuel was bottom, it went up. The dollar was bottom, it went up.
Reduced.
Everything was...
Mm-hmm.
No, it was 120. Yes. It went to 160. Now it's at 150 something or 140 something. We are being told it went whatever.
Dollar.
Yes,
it's
so
145.
It's 145. Yes, still it was 120. So let's continue. Me, I didn't interfere with you. So when you talk of the bottom-up agenda, it is very clear to us. With 100 shillings, you used to get 9 tokens. Today, with 100 shillings, you get 3 tokens. So it's bottom-up. Everything that ever was down,
yes,
they never saw something on the floor that they did not want to take up.
Yes.
And they have continued to do that.
Yes.
So, and even when fertilizer was free, they added what they call subsidy. It became 2,500 shillings after addition of subsidy. So I like this administration for what they do. He keeps telling me I like opposing them for everything. I support the bottom-up economic agenda. The only thing sasa I think wamesahau ni kutax oxygen ama usingizi. Once they do that, we shall be where they wanted us to be.
Gentlemen, and I'm going to give you that chance then to continue in the next part of the story. Gadaiga, for the sake of time, because we do have another issue that we're looking at as well, it's the president essentially talking on the housing agenda. I want to point you out to what the Attorney General
Simba
did.
had some right to apply.
Yes, you're going to respond to this, Prof. You're going to start with this response and then jump into the next conversation that we're going to go into. So the president essentially yesterday spoke about how the majority of the people who are opposing the housing agenda, it's not that they're opposing it based on the fact that it's a bad agenda, it's because they do not know how good it is. Therefore, faulting again his members of parliament and then the cabinet secretaries for not essentially beating the drum around it for people to go how good it is. But I want to point you out to the Attorney General, went back to the National House, and we as the media asked him, are you a man under siege? Why is it that majority of the policies that are coming to the National House, once they go to the courts, they lack legal limit? Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, then that's exactly how we're going to end this conversation this morning on that issue for the government scorecard. Let's take a look.
By the way,
there's something I wanted to tell you.
Yes.
I have.
Yes. Just
You an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Lookuptv welcomes you to attend the first career fair themed The Place of Education and Technical Skills in a Digitally Disruptive Era. The event will be streamed live on our TV and digital platforms. There will be a battery of professional speakers from diverse career disciplines. Join us for an opportunity to sharpen your career choices and make informed decisions for the future at the University of Nairobi Towers on the 22nd of February as from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Don't miss out.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi. Na ukiwa na Njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Over 2023, amended Standing Order 25A to allow a cabinet secretary to expound on government policy and answer to questions regarding their dockets. A section of cabinet secretaries have taken initiative, with others yet to appear before either houses. Today, during the government retreat in Naivasha, Nakuru County, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has called on CSS to make good use of the opportunity to appear before the House to expound on the happenings in their dockets, taking the opportunity in what looked like a dig aimed at ICT CS Eliud Owalo to urge CSs who have been skipping such sessions to honor summons.
Our cabinet secretaries, every time you find an opportunity to come and answer to a question or to a statement requested by a member of parliament, please take that time as also an opportunity to espouse on government policy. And maybe, for instance, I don't know, CS Eliud Owalo has not been there, for instance. If you get an opportunity to answer to a question, take that opportunity to also challenge us as members of parliament to also be a bit quick in pushing through government agenda, especially something like the ICT hubs.
Ichung'wah further emphasized on the importance of the sessions, as it was not only a conversation with legislators, but also an opportunity to appraise Kenya's own government projects being implemented in their respective dockets.
And by speaking to members of parliament from the floor of the House, you will also have an opportunity to speak to the country at a prime time when many Kenyans are watching. And I'm happy cabinet secretaries like the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen has done very well in taking advantage of even very difficult questions.
With the President William Ruto calling on MPs to pass the Affordable Housing Bill, the majority leaders from both houses promised to ensure the bill is passed in the next few days.
Your Excellency, we also have the national government administration laws that are also bound to come to the Assembly this session. Also the NADCO report, our affordable housing bill, which, Your Excellency, I'm happy to report we began debate last week on Thursday, so that we're able to conclude with that debate and be able to process the bill forward to the Senate so that they're able to advertise it by Friday, do their public participation, and we get a new affordable housing bill before the next payroll.
We are anxiously awaiting the housing bill, which the Honorable Lichungwa has spoken about. Once our colleagues in the Assembly conclude on it, we will definitely consider it.
Ian Keitane, Lookuptv.
All right. That's the last part of our discussion this morning. And Prof, hear what they say now. The members of parliament have gotten another opportunity then to speak to the president, tell him, well, everything is underway. We're going to go back, make sure that we ratify everything that was supposed to be corrected with the housing bill and pass it as soon as possible. Even with the NADCO report, we're going to go back at it and make sure that everything is done and dusted and quicker that. One question that was asked, that we would have liked to see the presentation of one man who essentially is very integral in the way the government has been failing on the housing agenda. Majority of the bills, like the Huduma number bill, which is a Maisha number bill now, all the way to the healthcare bill, which is SHIF, which was given a green light by the courts. That indeed, that lack of system that you pointed out is what has essentially been affecting the government's agenda. That the members of parliament, despite their loyalty to the president, the law is the law. Yeah. Would have you liked the presentation of one Attorney General?
I'm sure that Attorney General's presentation could have actually thrown some light into the possibility. And I also saw an article showing that the Attorney General has disadvised the government against most of those things. And that's why he will not be able to speak there.
Yes.
Attorney General's position has been that those things are what's called the extra-constitutional. You know, when you have extra-constitutional intention, you set up extra-constitutional committee to deliver extra-constitutional bill, then actually it ends up being unconstitutional. That's why, that was my legal argument. If you look at the House levy, the Court of Appeal, page 19, paragraph 46, I said that the intention was extra-constitutional, the process was extra-constitutional, it passed through Parliament, Senate, and all these things extra-constitutionally, therefore is extra-constitutional. Then the other thing which you have to understand here clearly, if you want to help the president, there is what we call one thing rule. Choose what you can do, which you do not need anybody's approval within the law. You cannot come up with a manifesto, a strategy, which is extra-constitutional, and then you want to execute it through extra-constitutional means, yet you are handed over the Constitution to defend and to protect. Because Simba, as a very staunch Catholic and Christian, however, why the 10 commandments were all formulated in negative. Do you know that? I'm a theologian, well-qualified theologian, went to one of the best schools in theology. Do you know why? From number 1 to 10, do you know why they're all negative? Tell me any single one which is positive. Do not worship any other God apart from me, isn't it? Yes. Do not steal. Do not fornicate. Do not admire somebody's wife. Do not. Do you know why they are negative? They are negative so that God can give you freedom. Do not fornicate does not mean do not have children. You can have children, but not under fornication, isn't it? Do not steal does not mean you should not eat. You can eat, but not through stealing. Do not collect tax levy does not mean do not build houses. Build houses, but not through house levy. And that's why my going to court was that the court's decision was a negative order. A negative order do not want any stay on order. A negative order means do not do this. Does not mean stops you from doing anything else. So when I said it's a negative order, Justice Achode, who was a resident judge for a court appeal, told me, senior counsel, I'm not a lawyer by the way, senior counsel, I agree with you totally that a negative order do not ask you to do anything. If I say do not steal, I'm not saying do anything. So why are you asking me for another order? So don't collect house levy, but you can build houses. So the president is right by saying it is possible to build houses. That is true. But what is not true is that it is not possible to collect house levy under this current constitution. Even if Ichungwa goes to court severally, when I state the house levy by saying that it is discriminatory, even that bill I've read, it's not curing the issue. It will go to court and fail. I'm here telling you, unless they buy the judge, which I don't think they will. What do I mean by that? Let me just explain this shortly. Why it cannot be, now they're trying to say that when you promise people houses, you cannot say only employed people can get houses, but unemployed cannot get houses. You have to promise a right, it's a bill of rights. All rights should be accessed by all Kenyans equally. So that's one part. The second part, now they say that everyone can now get houses, not only employed people, but there's what called burden or tax burden. Yes. You should share tax burden equally. It cannot be that these people, you collect money from them, but these people, without paying the taxes for the houses, they can access it. So the law is very clear about those things. How Ichungwa will cure the innate inconsistency in the House bill, I do not see it. I would ask the president to think twice and say, is there another way to construct houses without collecting house levy? I have a solution for him. Give an economic incentive to the private sector so that they can be able to build houses. But the main reason why it is a must that he must collect house levy is that he wants the money. And this money are contractor. That's why I ask Justice Muraguri in court, could you please tell us who are the contractors? Because he said, if we don't collect the taxes, the contract they have given to contractor will suffer. I told them, you have not put to court record who are the contractors. You have not even told us whether they are contracts, and if they are, put them on the table. Why were they not putting on the table? They feared because they know the contractors. The contractors is one person known in this country, because all money goes to him. In fact, if I can tell you why all the ministers and the MPs are not interested to support the president's agenda, is that the president's agenda is how to make money for himself, but no one else makes the money. If these ministers were given how they can also make money in this, because the president must have learned, Uhuru Kenyatta gave him a highway on which he can be in charge of some things. He made money, and he now used that money to antagonize the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta. Now he's not allowing anybody, even Gachagua is not making money the way he made money when he was deputy president. And that's why everybody is so loyal until now. The best way for a dictator is to ensure that all money comes to him, so he only gives you if you're loyal to him. If you're not loyal to him, he does not give you. And I think William Ruto is very smart in this. Whether that's good for Kenyans or not is a story for another, but I know that it is good to spread wealth. Wealth distribution is good.
Yes. Pretty much. Yes. We have 8 minutes left for.
Sure.
It's actually 6 minutes left for this particular show. I'm going to give you 3 minutes as well to look into this particular area for housing. Like, here's the thing: it's not like they've not supported the president in it. That we're well aware, isn't Gadaiga? Like, once this went back to the National House, they passed a quick and that, and the collection started. But later on, that's when even the AG comes back and says, well, guys, listen, it's more complex than that. So you sort of think what we're communicating here, that even as the government is trying to score itself, that there are failures within the system, to the point that even the AG, when he appeared in front of the parliamentary committee, was even telling them, guys, you can't lie to yourself. This particular thing has to go back to the county government as well, because this is what we're building these houses. When we ask the AG, are you a man under threat? That when you appear in front of this parliamentary committee, you advise them so well. In fact, you and I read about that particular issue for you are cheating yourselves if you say that this does not belong to the counties. It's not like the president doesn't have support for his agenda. It's coming out clearly now that the support is there from the Kenya Kwanza members of parliament, that there is a glitch that they got to fix within that particular system so that they do not fail in the courts.
Now, we have to be cognizant that, number one, Ishongwa is the majority leader. And it's his duty to ensure that all MPs that are aligned to Kenya Kwanza are available at any time as required. And they should be punctual and consistent in their attendance. Because it was very embarrassing last week when they were discussing this matter on the housing issue, and the minority leader almost said that we close debate so that they can do the vote, of which that didn't happen because we didn't have the numbers. And that's why Ishongwa had to speak that and speak in front of the MPs so that nobody ever says they were never told. Secondly, about the Attorney General. Indeed, the Attorney General has appeared in the parliamentary committee, and one thing that he advised and he said, and I would like to agree with him, there has to be, before the housing bill, it has to go to Senate. The housing bill has to go to Senate. Because you know housing is also devolved, isn't it? It's a devolved function. So the reason why the AG was saying that they missed that part of involving the counties, that is what the amendment should be done so that we can have a clean bill for housing bill. And Ishongwa was right by saying by this year's paycheck, by the next month's paycheck, from the 15th of March, that the money will be deducted for the levy. That is if it sails through the house and both houses and it becomes law. So therefore, what I want to say is this. Those trips that His Excellency William Samoei Ruto has been taking, has been taking, yes? I want to repeat. His Excellency William Samoei Ruto's trips, unlike what this man is saying is the most trouble. Yes, because that's what the nation deserves today. Has brought for Kenya 2 trillion Kenya shillings. I can point out a few. 900 billion for the railway city. 900 billion. There will be a railway city here in Nairobi. We have 8.7 billion for the rapid transport system by the US government. We have the different MOUs at trade level, ICT level, energy level, transport level, labor, education. I mean, these trips have bore fruit. Therefore, I'm saying the president had to go. In fact, I think Uhuru Kenyatta had messed up so much. That's why he had to go and realign the country. Because the trajectory that the country was going, in fact, most of these foreign countries were not with us. Now is the time Kenya is holding its rightful position globally because of the tireless effort that His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. And for you to compare Ruto and the Nigerian president, he's the age of his grandfather. Ruto is a young man, he has the energy, he has the right set of mind, and he's going to do the best for Kenya. I want to conclude by saying, Kenyans, I urge you kindly, give this government time. As you can see, the dollar has gone down from 165 to almost 130. Sawa? We are seeing fuel prices going down, and we expect the fuel price will go down more in the next month because the fuel that we have in the country was bought with the $165.
165, yes.
So the cost of living, go to the supermarket today. But I also want to caution the business people to stop hiking prices. Because if you go to the supermarket today, the supermarkets have hiked prices of everything and they have no reason to. Because fuel is going down, dollar has gone down. So William Samoei Ruto, work confidently. And my summing thought is this. The trips that you keep on accusing William Samoei Ruto, the last trip he made to Ethiopia, he took the name of Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga is going to be a beneficiary of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto's government. And Raila Odinga, I want to advise you, stay away from Uhuru Kenyatta. He's misusing you. Go ahead and Africa will champion for you, Kenya will champion for you, and you become the African head of state or the African chairman. And I know Uhuru Kenyatta wanted that position too. I rest my case.
I like the way you ended your summing sentiments. I mean, you and I have spoken a lot this year. I've never had you advise Raila Amolo Odinga.
No, he has to be advised. He needs to be careful. He needs to be careful because Uhuru Kenyatta is a very bitter person. And you know why I'm saying that? Let me just finish up. Actually,
yes, 15 seconds I want to give it to Fanya Mambo. Yes.
We had his good friend,
Kaguta Museveni and Tshisekedi trying to say that they are nominating Uhuru Kenyatta for the AU chairmanship. That is a piped dream. It can never happen. You have to be nominated by your head of state. Thank you.
Fanya mambo, as you're clear that indeed the support for the government is there when it comes to the members of parliament supporting the CSS, supporting these bills go in the past quick. Case in point, Sheep, which went to court, Maisha number, which went to court, cases over Haiti, which went to court, housing levy, which went to court and was taken back to members of parliament as well. That the support is there. It's not that they do not want to support him, but this blind support is what is kicking him in the back as well.
Thank you.
3 minutes, Fanya mambo.
Thank you. He started saying that fuel was bought when the dollar was 165. Tupatieni ile fuel mulinunua na Kenya shillings. Kenyans are asking for it because, you know, it's a facade. It has never happened in the world. No country will sell you fuel in Kenya shillings. They lied to Kenyans. There was a G2G deal where they bought fuel in Kenya shillings. Where is that fuel? He said we have an energetic president. Well, we give it up to you. But anybody who has flown outside of this country, if you go to the US, it's a 15-hour flight. We have 15 hours of someone who is not useful to their nation. Sitting in a pilot, sitting in an aeroplane at the mercy of the pilot, seeing nothing but the blue sea. What is being delivered to the country when a president is in the air for 15 hours? When you land, whoever you are, no matter how energetic you are, you have jet lag. And I invite him to fly. Huyo kwanza anaenda Haiti kupeleka watu wa Haiti na tunataka akae pale karibu na pilot. I want you to see how many hours those are. And by the time you get there, you realize that you become totally useless and unproductive for yourself. Even if, unfortunately, you had carried your girlfriend, you'd be useless for her for some time until you recuperate from that jet lag. So so when you make 50 trips, it means 50 trips of so many hours of that are not productive to Kenyans during the flight hours, and the jet lag that is associated with it on the way to and the way back, because this is 50 trips out and 50 trips back. Now, they said Uhuru landed us in debt. He said that debt was bad. Kenya Kwanza is not going to borrow. We are going to finance ourselves locally. He has shouted to this camera about how much they've borrowed and how proud they're about how much money they've borrowed. I don't know where they read from and who teaches them and who talks to them. You can't speak with one mouth saying debt is bad if it is borrowed by Uhuru, and then come and borrow 2.5. He borrowed 500 billion in a year. They borrowed 2.5 in the same year. They borrowed 5 times more than the guy they said I was borrowing and landing us in debt. How do these people think? You come and tell us debt is bad. Then you borrow 5 times more because it is bad. I keep telling these people, Kenya can be compared to a bus. We get into a bus, and one of the passengers says, wait a minute, we are going to Mombasa. Hata hatujafika Emali. The way this driver is driving this bus, we are afraid he can land us in a ditch. And then somebody jumps from the same bus and starts saying, in fact, even the bus we took yesterday was worse. You're being told, wait a minute, you have reached here safely. You are in a different bus with a different driver going to Mombasa. You have not even reached Emali. And this driver is swerving all over places and hitting bumps and hitting potholes and swerving off the road and getting hooted at by all the other lorries on the road. And you are telling us not to discuss the current driver. We give him time to do what? Land us into a trailer? We have to discuss the current driver because it's a going concern. Yes. We are all seated in that bus. We are all heading to Mombasa. That bus can hit a tree. That bus can land us in a ditch. We have to discuss the current driver every minute. Stop telling us to start discussing the driver who was carrying us yesterday. We alighted from that bus. We got into this bus. It has a new driver. The destination is Mombasa, and we have to be careful and to talk and to address this driver because that's a problem. Finally, yes. Why are we building houses? You know, you're dealing with the symptoms of a disease. Kenya does not have a housing problem. Kenya has an urbanization problem. People are leaving their homes and coming to Nairobi. And you are thinking that you're going to build houses in the urban places. The reason people are coming into Nairobi is because opportunities are concentrated here. If we were encouraging for the building of factories within the rural areas, we would never need to build a house because people would work and move to the nearest factory and work from the nearest factory from home. Kenya is the capital city. It has a tourist attraction here. every factory that would think is in industrial area. What is wrong with us as a nation? Watu wanatoka Bungoma anakuja kufanya kazi hapa Bidco. Why? And the raw materials for making that oil are coming from Uganda. Why don't we have that factory on that other side of the country? So if you ask me, we don't have a housing problem. We are dealing with a symptom of a disease, and the disease we have is rural-urban migration. What we need to do is to decentralize and remove most of our factories from Nairobi. And if we take them outside Nairobi, what will happen, you realize that even half of the population we have in Nairobi will move away. And let me tell you, when they move away, there are these people I call opportunistic investors. Ameweka kaempesa na mandazi kwa barabara yenye watu wanapitia wakienda India. If you move 2 manufacturing companies from here to Machakos, and the employees follow them, even this person who was selling mandazi to them will realize that there's no biashara. He'll follow them. So he'll go to Machakos. And the matatu that was carrying these people, because on kilipo mshahara the first 2 days wanaendanga na matatu, those matatus will also follow them. More than half of the population we have in Nairobi should not be here. They are here because they have followed employment opportunities. And if you move those factories out of Nairobi, you will not need to build one house.
That's it. Just one, gentlemen, but we're completely out of time. But I gotta pay homage to the audience that has been watching you this morning.
Yes.
And this is what they're saying. Well, we asked them the question, and this is what we asked. Do you think the cabinet secretaries are failing President William Ruto on in implementing his agenda? And we've got so many comments that are coming in. I'm just going to read 5 of them randomly as I can. This is Willis Wapemi who's saying, now Prezo was shocked to learn that most of his members of parliament under Kenya Kwanza are not aware about his programs or projects. He posed a question as if he was talking Hewa. This means that these projects are not tenable. I'm just going to scribe through and read another one as well. When somebody saying, no, they are doubtful. This is Dav Mwangi. Thank you very much for watching this morning. Ponsian Poti was saying, of course they are. That is Vene Correo. And then I have the last one that I'm going to read this morning. Henry Okoth was saying, well, no, probably the president is the problem. Some of them then, of the majority that we've got into the studio this morning. Prof, I'm getting chilled. We don't even have a second. Guess what? Please save it for next time. Just one. Online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. For the majority of you that are watching us this morning, thank you very much for being a part and parcel. Guess what? We wait. We're still going to be there today, tomorrow, and the day after. So we get a proper scorecard of those cabinet secretaries sitting right there and Naivasha. Fanya mambo. Yadaiga. Prof, always a pleasure to have you around, guys. Yeah, that's it. We step out. Goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 89